Hey everyone. I want to introduce you to Makoto. The MC first met her in the summer of 3rd grade. Ever since then, they've been inseparable. By the way, the MC is the little guy on the left. His name's Takase. In elementary school, Makoto was bursting with energy and always cheerful and bright. She was endlessly optimistic, always dragging Takase along no matter what. Back then, she was all Takase could think about. To him, she was the sun itself, brightening everything around her. When Makoto entered middle school, she became even more amazing. She was beautiful, outgoing, and excelled both academically and athletically. Honestly, she was just incredible, truly one of a kind. But everything changed when she entered high school. Makoto became clingy, always asking me to walk home with her. The confident, unstoppable girl I knew seemed to have shifted into someone completely different. After asking Takase to walk home together, Makoto would always give him the chance to say no. She would lower herself slightly, hesitating, and ask if he wouldn't want to walk home with someone like her. Takase always agreed, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something about her behavior was off. Her personality seemed to flip, sometimes leaving him wondering if she was even the same person he had known for years. Even after he agreed, she would fidget nervously, asking if he was truly fine with walking home with her, worrying that she might be a burden. Takase had to reassure her every time, telling her that she wasn't a burden and that he didn't mind. Only then would Makoto finally calm down. He always noticed a certain heaviness in the air whenever he was with her. One day, as she fidgeted and muttered under her breath, Makoto finally mustered the courage to tell Takase that she liked the game they played at his place. It had been really fun. Takase, understanding her hint, asked if she wanted to come over and continue the game from where they had left off. She nodded eagerly, agreeing. You see, Makoto and Takase have been childhood friends, who spent countless hours playing together. Even now, they still hung out, enjoying games like they always had. As they played, Makoto won the first round, and Takase laughed dryly and suggested another round. But she won again. She glanced at him mischievously, calling him a loser and asking if he was frustrated. Takase sighed, remembering that Makoto had always been good at everything. He wasn't sure he had ever beaten her in a game before. Brushing off his defeat, he got up to grab a drink, but before he knew it, Makoto was suddenly right in front of him. He was obviously startled as he barely saw her move. She quickly explained that she hadn't meant to make fun of him. Apologizing profusely, she asked if she had upset him and begged him not to hate her. Takase timidly accepted her apology. The thing that had changed the most about Makoto was that she was absolutely terrified of being hated by Takase. She asked if there was anything she could do to make it up to him, practically begging for something to do. Her fear was almost pathological. Reluctantly, Takase told her he was thirsty and asked if she could get him a drink. Makoto's face lit up, and she assured him she would handle it. She wanted to be useful. As she went to get the drink, Takase thought to himself that he could never hate her. When she returned after a long while, Makoto peeked through the doorway worriedly. Takase asked where the drink was, and she teared up, explaining that she had poured too much juice and couldn't carry it. When he asked why she made such a mistake, she replied that she just wanted him to have plenty to drink. Even with all her flaws, Makoto's earnestness and cuteness made it impossible for Takase to ever hate her. At school, Takase ran into his class representative and asked her what was up. She immediately asked whether he had turned in the festival feedback survey, and he began wondering where he had put it. Just then, Takase noticed Makoto staring right at him. One of her quirks was that she got extremely anxious whenever he talked to another girl. Takase thought quickly about how to avoid making Makoto more nervous. Then, a plan came to him. He just needed to make it obvious that he had no real interest in the conversation. Internally, he apologized to the class rep. He knew he was about to be a little cruel for Makoto's sake. Sighing, he said it was a pain and, with a sinister smile, told the class rep that when he found the paper, he'd just scribble whatever came to mind and submit it. She shrugged, saying he could do whatever he wanted since she couldn't be bothered. Takase inwardly grumbled. Wasn't the class rep supposed to be scolding him? He realized that his naturally kind-hearted nature made him terrible at being genuinely cruel. Suddenly, Makoto started approaching him, and he panicked. The situation felt dangerous. If it continued, she might start crying. His face went pale at the thought, knowing he would never forgive himself if he made her cry. The class rep noticed his sudden change in expression and asked if he was okay. That's when she saw Makoto. Flipping through her booklets, she asked Makoto whether she had submitted the survey. Makoto immediately hid behind Takase and apologized, admitting she hadn't turned it in yet. The class rep shook her head, complaining that the two of them were always like this, even during the last class decision meeting. Then she said, rather casually, that Makoto and Takase seriously suited each other. Makoto's face flushed bright red. The class rep reminded them to turn in their surveys by the end of the day and left. After she was gone, Makoto turned to Takase and quietly repeated what the class rep had said, that they suited each other. Takase realized that, in the end, all his worries had been completely unnecessary. In the next scene, Makoto caught a cold. Since she couldn't go to school, she felt lonely. Not being able to see Takase in person made her days feel dull. But because she was sick, Takase worried more than usual and showered her with attention. Makoto was genuinely happy. For once, catching a cold didn't feel so bad. Wanting even more attention, she decided to exaggerate her condition slightly, despite having only a mild fever. She sent Takase a message claiming her temperature had risen to 41 degrees Celsius. The moment Takase saw it, he panicked. 41 degrees Celsius is a medical emergency. Meanwhile, Makoto was pleased that he had replied so quickly. But when she read his message telling her to hang in there and apologizing for texting her, she felt a pang of sadness. She thought the conversation was ending and panicked, wondering how to fix it. Quickly, she sent another message clarifying that she wasn't running a high fever, she just felt a little hot or a little cold. When Takase read this, he was alarmed that she couldn't even tell whether she was hot or cold. Convinced it was life-threatening, he immediately stood up and dashed off, texting her that he was coming over. Makoto became restless at the news. He was coming over, and she didn't really have a fever. What if he found out she had lied? She imagined him calling her a vile woman for deceiving him and hating her. The thought was so overwhelming that tears welled up in her eyes. To her dismay, he arrived very quickly. Makoto felt like she was done for, imagining the worst, but she tried to console herself. At least she would get to see his face one last time. When the worried Takase asked if she was okay, she braced herself and meekly admitted that she didn't actually have a high fever, and that she was just happy that he cared about her. Take's relief was palpable. He had feared she was gravely ill, but seeing her safe eased his worry. Makoto thanked him for caring and apologized for lying, and Takase accepted her apology without hesitation. In the next scene, Makoto was sneakily poking Takase, and when he turned around, she pretended as if nothing had happened. When Takase asked her if she had poked him, she acted innocent, asking what he was talking about and insisting that it hadn't been her. But when he turned away again, she quietly laughed. Takase realized that this was Makoto's special "pay attention to me" signal, which meant she was in a good mood. Even though her cheerfulness was a good thing, he felt that if he reacted, it would be as if he were losing. Despite her irresistible cuteness, he decided to remain composed and not respond. Makoto continued poking him, but he ignored her, steadfast in his refusal to react. Seeing that he would not respond, she covered his eyes and asked him to guess who it was, yet he continued to ignore her. Eventually, she slowly lowered her hands and began to cry, asking why he was ignoring her. She hugged him and accused him of being mean. She asked if there was something about her that he did not like, and added that if that were the reason he was upset, she would change and become the kind of girl who was perfect for him. She insisted that she would change everything about herself, but Takase reassured her that it was not like that. He explained that he had been stubborn for no reason, apologized, and emphasized that there was nothing about her that he disliked. He apologized again and asked her not to cry. Makoto immediately brightened, asking if he truly did not hate her, and if he was not mad at her. He assured her that he was not. Takase had seen many sides of Makoto over the years, but since they had been children, he had always been weak to her tears. The moment she cried, he never stood a chance. Although it was a weakness, he had come to accept it as a part of himself that he did not mind. As they continued walking, Makoto poked him again, and this time, he did not ignore her. As Makoto walked behind Takase, he suddenly stopped, and she accidentally slammed into him. When he turned around, he noticed that she had a nosebleed. The hair that usually covered her right eye had parted, revealing her scar. Takase immediately blamed himself, thinking it had happened because he hadn't been careful. Makoto quickly reassured him that it was fine, explaining that it bled easily since it had also bled the night before. Despite her calm words, Takase insisted that it was his fault as he tried to stop the bleeding. The scar on the right side of Mikoto's face, which was usually hidden, dated back to middle school. At the time, she had a peculiar presence, an almost gravitational pull that drew people toward her. But not everything it attracted was good. Jealousy, envy, and other negative emotions had slowly built up around her, and the scar had been the painful result. Takase knew that Makoto wasn't to blame. He felt that the responsibility was all his. Back then, embarrassed by his own feelings for her, he had intentionally kept his distance. Even though he sensed that something strange was happening to her, he did not intervene. Part of the reason Makoto had changed over time was that Takase, her closest person during that period, had not been there to protect her. Now, he had resolved to protect her, but he still could not bring himself to confess his feelings. Doing so felt far too presumptuous, even though his desire to care for her had grown stronger than ever. Once the bleeding had stopped, Takase asked Makoto if her nose still hurt, and told her to let him know if anything else was wrong. Makoto, pleased by his concern, responded with a touch of drama, claiming she might be feeling a little dizzy. Taking advantage of the moment, she asked him if he could stay with her and watch over her for the day. For Makoto, being injured wasn't so bad, because whenever she was hurt, Takase gave her his full attention. Mikoto's middle school years were the worst. Takase had avoided her, and when she got her scar, she wanted to die. But the scar brought Takase back. Because of it, he started looking at her again. Her scarred face, in her eyes, was ruined, ugly and unlovable. She believed there was no way Takase could ever fall for her. Everything he did for her had been out of pity, and she had known it. That was why she felt she had to make sure Takase didn't hate her. She had to ensure that he would never grow tired of her. She had to remain someone pitiful, so that he would stay by her side. Even with all her flaws, she wanted to be with him forever. Yet for someone like her to hope that he would return her feelings felt far too presumptuous. In the next scene, as Makoto was using her phone and waiting for Takase to arrive, she was unaware that someone was watching her. Before she could react, a girl suddenly hugged her from behind, startling her. The girl was Mitaka, Takase's younger sister. Mitaka asked Makoto if there had been any progress between her and Takase, causing Makoto to blush. Nervously, Makoto replied that Takase was always kind and helped her whenever she was in trouble. After a moment of thought, Mitaka commented that Makoto had strange tastes. She said that, while Takase's appearance was decent, he was otherwise hopeless. After all, she had to wake him up every morning, and without her, he would be completely hopeless. But Makoto said she didn't care what anyone thought about Takase because she loved everything about him. Mitaka, breaking into a cold sweat, stammered that Makoto might not really love Takase. After all, the Takase she knew was only a small part of him. She tried to give examples of the parts of Takase that Makoto didn't know, but she couldn't. Curious, Makoto asked if Mitaka meant how Takase acted at home. Mitaka admitted that Makoto was correct. That was exactly what she had been trying to explain. Makoto, intrigued, asked her to tell her more about how Takase behaved at home. Mitaka initially acted pompous, saying that since Makoto asked, she would make an exception and tell her. But then she paled, remembering that Takase only spoke about Makoto at home, leaving her tongue-tied. Makoto reassured her, saying she would be okay with anything Mitaka shared about Takase because she wanted to understand him better. Frustrated, Mitaka threw a tantrum, complaining that Makoto and Takase were always together, doing things without including her, and leaving her out. Makoto flinched at the remark. Mitaka continued that she wanted to hang out with both of them, but before the conversation could escalate, Takase arrived and karate-chopped Mitaka's head, silencing her. He apologized to Makoto for being late and for his little sister's tantrum, then sternly warned Mitaka to stop bothering her. Makoto approached the now crying Mitaka and asked if she could talk to her for a moment. Mitaka asked what she wanted. Moving closer, Makoto whispered that she was sorry if she had upset Mitaka, that she genuinely liked her, and asked if they could be friends. Mitaka wiped away her tears and admitted she had misjudged Makoto. She confessed that she had assumed Makoto would be the kind of girl who would take any other girl beside her brother as an enemy. Then, she asked if Makoto truly wanted to be friends. Makoto smiled and said she did. After all, Mitaka was Takase's younger sister. After finishing her writing, Makoto stood up and stretched, causing Takase to inadvertently notice her curves. She quickly apologized for dragging him along to help with her assignment, and asked if he minded. Takase reassured her that he didn't mind at all. In fact, he said it was actually great, since when it was just the two of them, They could help each other with things that they didn't understand. Makoto laughed, saying that if he said so, then it must be true. After noticing that he had grown quiet for a while, she moved closer and asked if something was wrong, or if she was bothering him, and Takase quickly said that she wasn't. Despite his words, Take's thoughts betrayed him. As her childhood friend, he knew the truth about Makoto's figure. Although they were hidden beneath her usually baggy clothes, she actually had 2 massive Mount Everests. He mentally scolded himself for thinking impure thoughts, and slammed his hands on the table in frustration. He reminded himself that Makoto was his precious childhood friend, and that he needed to protect her. He called himself a pervert for nearly losing control and resolved to stay rational. Even so, his body refused to cooperate, and he felt frustrated at his own helplessness. He hated feeling powerless in the face of Makoto's allure and mentally apologized to her for being trash. Just then, Makoto called out to him. Takase flinched and apologized before asking what was wrong. She asked if he thought the room was hot. Takase admitted that it was, explaining that just opening the window wouldn't be enough, and asked if she wanted him to turn on the AC. Makoto said it was fine. She could simply remove a layer of clothing. When she took off her sweater, Takase realized he already lost the battle. Later that night, Takase retrieved a tissue and baby oil, intent on acting on his impulses. Midway, his sister suddenly opened the door and called him for dinner. He panicked, yelling at her not to just barge in like that, but the interruption left him unable to continue. Takase noticed Makoto smiling brightly and asked if something good had happened. Makoto explained that her mother had been talking to her a lot lately, even sending her messages. Makoto's mother was a single parent. Her father had passed away when Makoto was in 3rd grade. Since then, her mother had buried herself and worked to cope with the loss, leaving Makoto feeling neglected. Takase recalled visiting Makoto's house often in elementary school, yet he had never met her mother. Now, he guessed that she had changed. Perhaps her daughter's recent injury had made her realize that she had failed to protect her. Makoto, brimming with excitement, showed Takase a message her mother just sent. Seeing the text, it almost looked like something a stalker would send. Afterwards, Takase walked Makoto home and waved goodbye. Inside, Makoto was greeted by her mother, who was relieved she had arrived safely, though Makoto found her reaction a little dramatic. Her mother suggested they eat together, and Makoto agreed. She had ordered Makoto's favorite food from a restaurant, promising it would be delicious. After the meal, Makoto thanked her mother and offered to do the dishes. Her mother gently refused, saying it was too dangerous, warning that Makoto could cut herself on a fork or a knife. She insisted Makoto relax while she cleaned up. When Makoto tried to argue, her mother reminded her that she no longer needed to suffer, so Makoto reluctantly gave up. Later, as Makoto tried to start her homework, her mother offered to help and told her to ask about anything she didn't understand. Makoto agreed. Once the homework was finished, her mother suggested reading a picture book together, and Makoto reluctantly went along. When it was time for a bath, her mother offered to bathe with her. As night fell and it became late, Makoto wanted to go to bed early so she could see Takase the next day, but decided to make a quick phone call first. Her mother entered the room and offered to sleep beside her, and Makoto reluctantly agreed. Lying in bed, Makoto noticed her mother staring at her and asked what was wrong. Her mother remembered the time when Makoto had gotten her scar. She had asked why Makoto hadn't come to her for help or told her before things got so bad. At the time, Makoto had cried and explained that it was because her mother was never around. Returning to the present, her mother reassured Makoto that everything would be okay now, that she was here for her. She promised to give Makoto everything she hadn't been able to provide before, encouraging her to do more and not hold back. Internally, Makoto realized that her mother's attention was driven by guilt. She was desperately seeking Makoto's love. She was trying to make up for the past. Yet Makoto didn't mind. Simply being with her mother made her happy. When her mother finally fell asleep, Makoto whispered good night and decided to call Takase. Takase sat drinking coffee, glancing at the clock as he waited for Makoto's call. When the time finally came, his phone rang, and he quickly answered. Makoto apologized for calling so late again, explaining that she had felt a little lonely before bed. Takase reassured her that it was fine and agreed to talk for a while. You see, 4 or 7 times a week, Makoto would call him. Talking with her until she fell asleep had become a part of his daily routine. Although it might sound exhausting, he actually enjoyed it, and when she didn't call, he found himself worrying. He considered it a normal part of youth, at least for him. They spoke for a little over an hour, and when he was certain she had fallen asleep, he tried to end the call. But then, a voice spoke up, asking him not to hang up. It was Mikoto's mother. She introduced herself, and thanked him for looking after Makoto. She said she had something to discuss about Makoto's school life and asked if he had a moment. Takase reluctantly agreed, inwardly complaining about the overtime. But he reasoned that since it was about Makoto, it was worth listening. The call dragged on far longer than expected, almost 4 straight hours, until the sun began to rise. Takase tried to end the conversation several times, but Mikoto's mother's persuasive skills kept the call going. Eventually, she apologized for keeping him so long and explained that she had done awful things to her daughter in the past. She wanted to make it up to Makoto and understand her better as her mother. Takase realized she was genuinely trying her best and couldn't fault her, so he decided to continue listening. Makoto's mother spiraled emotionally, even breaking into tears over how much she felt she had let Makoto down. Takase reassured her, telling her not to be so hard on herself and that the very fact she was trying now was already admirable. After a while, he noticed there was no response, and then he heard the sound of snoring. Annoyed, he realized that she had fallen asleep. Checking the time, he sighed. Morning had arrived, but he decided to sleep for about an hour. Before he could doze off, his younger sister, Mitaka, barged into his room. She cheerfully announced that she had woken up earlier than usual, and decided to give him a morning call. Takase looked at her lifelessly, and when she saw he was already awake, she complained that he was no fun. In frustration, he grabbed her and punished her, prompting Mitaka to scream and ask why he took out his stress on her 99% of the time. It was Saturday, the day Makoto was supposed to visit Take's place. On these Saturday visits, Makoto usually spent most of her time in his room. Takase, fully aware of the situation, decided to make the most of it. First, he brought out a memory foam cushion to reduce fatigue from prolonged sitting and to protect Makoto's comfort. Although it had cost him 10,000 yen, he considered it a necessary sacrifice. Next, he borrowed an air purifier from the living room, reasoning that if Makoto ever complained about any unpleasant smell in his room, he would be mortified. His secret weapon, however, was 10 baked puddings from Makoto's favorite cake shop. But when he opened the fridge, all of them were gone. Takase was dumbfounded. It seemed impossible unless some supernatural rift had swallowed them. Just then, Mitaka returned home. Takase greeted her and asked if she had seen the puddings. With a thumbs up, she admitted that she had eaten every last one. Takase could only sigh. His sister was truly a gluttonous demon. He pondered his options. Buying more was impossible. The cake shop was a 2-hour round trip, and Makoto would arrive in about an hour. With no other choice, he decided to make the puddings himself. As he cooked, Mitaka peeked in and asked if he was making chawanmushi. Annoyed, Takase called her an idiot and told her she wouldn't get any. Then Mitaka mentioned that Makoto's mom was calling, which left Takase baffled. She asked why he even had her number, and teased that it was creepy. Takase explained that he didn't have a choice. Makoto's mom had begged him for it on her knees. He answered the call, introducing himself politely and asking what had happened. Makoto's mom explained that Makoto had a fever. Although she had wanted Makoto to visit, she couldn't risk her getting worse, as the stress would be unbearable. Meanwhile, Makoto herself was throwing a tantrum, insisting on going over. Takase told her mother to please convey his hopes that Makoto would feel better soon. Exhausted, Takase turned to Mitaka and said he was making chawanmushi, asking if she wanted some. This was the first time Mitaka had ever seen her brother look so emotionally drained. Makoto apologized to Takase for not being able to come over and hang out with him. He reassured her that it was okay. Her health came first. To make it up to him, she brought a lot of sweets so that the two of them could enjoy them together. Takase rejoiced. Sweets always tasted better after school. Makoto asked if she had helped and made him happy. Takase smiled and replied that she had, and that they should eat right away. Just then, a shadowy figure wearing glasses approached them. It was their class representative, who mumbled that sweets after school were wonderful. Takase was surprised to see her, and when he noticed how intently she was staring at them, he quickly apologized and suggested they go somewhere else. As Takase told Makoto they couldn't stay and needed to find another spot to eat, the class rep stopped them, saying they couldn't leave. When Takase asked why, she fell into deep thought, unsure of how to respond. She couldn't possibly admit that it was because she secretly shipped the two of them. She blamed herself for being so foolish. But seeing how perfect they looked together, she felt compelled to say something, even though she had sworn not to interfere with her one true pair. By speaking up, she had become an annoying fan crashing their little date. The class rep stuttered and told them to just stay there. Takase, puzzled, asked if she was after their snacks, and she immediately denied it. Internally, she wished he would just ignore her. She couldn't understand how he hadn't noticed Mikoto's nervousness. She mentally scolded him, thinking that he had been too soft on everyone since elementary school. His priority should be Makoto. He should talk to no one else and keep his eyes on her. Still, she found it incredibly cute how Makoto clung to Takase. She knew the two of them were in love. They were just too stubborn to admit it. They were probably thinking that they weren't good enough for each other or didn't deserve each other, though she understood why. Especially after everything Makoto had gone through, she felt they needed to move forward, even if it was messy. They were just one step away from breaking down the fake wall between them. Suddenly, the class rep dashed off. Takase, surprised, asked where she was going. She responded casually that she was going to the restroom. Makoto, noticing her speed, remarked on how fast she was. Though the class rep was just a lowly shipper, all she could do was pray with all her heart that Takase and Makoto would hurry up, confess their feelings, date, get married, and live happily ever after. The next scene began with Makoto happily eating her lunch while Takase just stared at her. He called out, telling her that people who eat cutely are nice. Makoto immediately overthought it. She reasoned that if Takase liked people who ate cutely, it must mean he liked girls like that more than her, which, in turn, meant he would hate her and abandon her. In her frantic calculations, Makoto concluded that the only solution was to die. But of course, she didn't want to die. So instead, she wondered what she could do to prove that she was more valuable than the hypothetical girl in question. With that in mind, Makoto asked Takase if she had bigger jigglers than the other girl. Takase, caught completely off guard, spit out what he was drinking and asked what she was suddenly talking about. Timidly, she asked if he didn't like big jigglers. Reluctantly, he said he didn't hate them, though internally, he was thinking that he absolutely loved them. Makoto, seeing his reaction, was delighted that her plan seemed to be working. She then asked if he wanted to touch them. Takase immediately rejected the idea, saying he could never. But Makoto reassured him that if it was him, it would be fine. Flustered, Takase stammered that she couldn't just spring something like that on him out of nowhere. He tried to calm himself, but couldn't help wondering what Makoto was thinking, asking him that so suddenly. Just then, he noticed that she was blushing. Confused, he asked why she was the one blushing when she was the one who brought it up. Makoto, equally flustered, apologized and stammered that she had gotten caught up in the moment. After a tense silence, Takase felt the atmosphere growing awkward. Just then, the bell rang. He reminded Makoto that class was starting, so they needed to hurry. She flusteredly agreed, and as they left, Takase silently wondered why their conversation had even started talking about jigglers in the first place. When Takase went home, he lay on his bed, remembering how Makoto had asked him if he wanted to touch her jigglers. Despite his hesitation, he reluctantly picked up his phone and placed an order. The next day, Takase nervously waited for the delivery, and when he heard the doorbell, he ran to the mailbox with almost supernatural speed to retrieve it. Just as he was about to check the contents, Makoto, who had appeared at the door, asked him what he had gotten. Takase immediately panicked, asking her what she was doing there. Makoto explained that she had been curious about what he was doing and before she knew it, she had somehow ended up at his house. She then asked him if that was creepy. Takase hid the package behind him and told her that it wasn't creepy at all, that it was just a normal day without anything unusual happening. Makoto asked why he was hiding something behind him, and Takase stuttered as he struggled to come up with an explanation. She then asked if what he was hiding was a dirty magazine, which caused him to start sweating. Makoto tried to take the package from him and asked what kind of things he liked, saying that she wanted him to tell her so she could match his interests. She insisted that she would do her best to make him like her even more. Takase, flustered, called her an idiot and told her that it wasn't something to joke about. Eventually, Makoto managed to grab the package from him. When she saw the title, which read Bang's covered childhood friend with big jigglers, Makoto blushed. Takase also blushed but told her that it wasn't weird, since he was a guy. Makoto felt a strange sense of satisfaction, thinking that even if she wasn't the one Takase loved, at least he still looked at her that way. With a mischievous smile, she asked him to lend her his hand. When he gave it to her, she placed it on her jiggler. Surprised, Takase quickly pulled his hand back and asked what she was doing. She didn't answer and simply dashed away. From a corner, she waved goodbye and told him that she would see him tomorrow. Left alone, Takase glanced at his dirty magazine and muttered that it couldn't compare to the real thing. He sighed as he walked into his house, muttering in frustration, "Damn it, Makoto." Part 2 begins. Back when Takase touched Makoto's jigglers, he collapsed from a fever. The reason for his fever wasn't sexual excitement, but rather that his brain couldn't process the information. His vision kept insisting that it was a daydream, while his sense of touch insisted that it was real. The clash between the two created so much friction and chaos that his brain overheated. As Take's mother checked his temperature, she said that he had a terrible fever and that he should stay home for the day. But Takase refused. He said that there was no way he could stay home and rest when Makoto was waiting for him. With a scary smile, his mother told him not to leave, and that if he left, he would die. And that if he didn't rest, she would kill him. At that, Takase kept his mouth shut. Just then, Take's younger sister, Mitaka, walked into the room and informed him that Makoto had arrived, asking what should be done. Take's mom said that it was fine and that she would handle Makoto herself. But Takase immediately stopped her, saying that there was no way that was okay. He explained that Makoto came all the way just to see him, so he had to at least show her that he cared. His mother responded by putting him in a headlock as she told him that the sick should behave, and as he struggled to break free, he protested that that wasn't how she should treat a sick person. Meanwhile, as Makoto waited, she wondered why Takase wasn't coming out and whether something had happened to him. As she blushed, she also wondered if she had done something outrageous the day before. Just then, Take's mother creepily appeared beside her and called out to her. Makoto screamed in fright, while Take's mother hummed calmly. Take's mother explained that Takase was bedridden and that a lot of things had happened. Makoto timidly said that she understood and that she would go home, since she didn't want to cause trouble. Take's mother asked her what she was talking about and told her to come in, which baffled Makoto. She then creepily explained that Takase was weak at the moment, and that this was Makoto's chance. Makoto went inside while apologizing for the intrusion. When she saw Takase up and about, she was surprised. She said that he looked weak and asked if he wasn't feeling sick, but he played ignorant and asked what she was talking about. Makoto explained that his mother said he was bedridden, and Takase replied that his mother was joking and that he was completely fine. At that moment, his mother appeared behind him and karate chopped his neck, telling him to behave himself. When Takase collapsed, Makoto and Mitaka called out to him in worry, but his mother coldly said that acting tough would only make it worse and that he should rest quietly. Takase weakly muttered that she was the one beating him up the most. As Takase lay on the bed, he exclaimed that his mom was nuts, and Makoto laughed in agreement. Makoto worriedly asked Takase if he was okay, adding that if anything happened to him, she would die with him. Takase stammered that he was okay and that he would get better soon. Makoto said that she wanted to do something for him, but admitted that she was no help at all and apologized. Takase told her that wasn't true and that just seeing her face made him feel better. Internally though, he found it strange. Makoto was technically the reason for his illness, yet somehow, seeing her was comforting. Takase unknowingly muttered that Makoto was always in his heart, and when she heard that, she became flustered. Takase hurriedly explained that he just meant to show his gratitude and thank her for coming over, and Makoto replied that it was fine. Takase wondered if it was because of the fever and felt embarrassed for blurting out whatever was on his mind. Takase told Makoto that it would be dangerous once it got dark and that she should go home, since he would be fine. Makoto said that she wouldn't mind staying over all night, but when she checked her phone, she saw that her mother had spammed her with messages expressing how worried she was. Noticing her expression, Takase asked what was wrong, and Makoto explained that it was her mother. Takase immediately understood and asked her to go home, reassuring her that her mother was worried and promising that he would be better by the next time they met. Hearing his direct request, Makoto hesitated. Eventually, she agreed to go home, since she didn't want to cause any more trouble for Takase and his family. Before leaving, she leaned in and whispered into Take's ear that he should get well soon, then she immediately dashed off. Left alone, Takase wondered why she had gotten so close and what she had just done, realizing that his fever had probably worsened. He admitted to himself that no matter how much he tried to hide it, he truly had feelings for Makoto. Just then, his mom silently opened the door and with a creepy smile, asked if they did it, leaving Takase wondering what the heck she was talking about. As Makoto peeked at her jigglers, she once again realized just how big they were, and that Takase liked them big. She thought that maybe her jigglers could be her greatest weapon, and decided that if it ever seemed like Takase hated her, she would use her body to push herself on him. She swore to use her jiggler power if the situation ever called for it. Taking out her phone, even though she felt embarrassed, she considered sending some risque selfies. Makoto wondered what kind of reaction Takase would have, and when she imagined him using them for his night activities, she giggled, calling him a pervert. But she decided not to show her face in the selfies. Just then, Makoto's mother walked in and told her that dinner was ready, asking if she wanted to eat together. But when she saw what Makoto was doing, she freaked out. She immediately grabbed Makoto, shouting that she shouldn't sell her body and that no matter how hard things got, that was the one thing she should never do. Makoto's mother said that it was all her fault as a parent and begged Makoto not to do something like that. She said she would carry all of Makoto's pain for her and take her place in everything. Declaring this, she decided that she would be the one to strip instead of Makoto, which completely shocked Makoto. Makoto immediately grabbed her mother and told her to think about her age, but her mother resisted, insisting that Makoto should let her go so she could strip. After a lot of struggling, Makoto finally managed to calm her mother down. Even so, her mom continued to insist that Makoto selling her body was forbidden. She explained that digital footprints were terrifying and that Takase would be devastated if he ever found out. Makoto tried to explain, but she was tongue-tied. Her mother was under the misunderstanding that Makoto was doing something dangerous on the internet. Makoto wanted to clear things up, but the problem was that she couldn't tell her mother what she was actually trying to do, since that wasn't appropriate either. So, she wondered what she should do. While Makoto thought things over, her mother commented that the situation was dangerous and that she would need to call Takase again for advice. At that, Makoto asked her to wait and questioned how she even had Takase's contact information. At that moment, her mother broke into a cold sweat. That night, unsettling messages arrived on Takase's phone. At school, the class rep handed Takase and Makoto the class notes for the 2 days they had been absent and asked them to copy them. Takase thanked her, and she commented that Takase and Makoto always seemed to be absent at the same time. Makoto, meanwhile, thought that there was no point in going to school if Takase wasn't there. The class rep scolded Takase, warning him not to start thinking that this was normal, and he timidly agreed. The class rep explained that she was only taking notes for him because Makoto was there, and Takase apologized, admitting that he had gotten a little too comfortable. Just then, Makoto called out and asked them what their relationship was. At that, they froze. Breaking into a cold sweat, Takase explained that he and the class rep had an inseparable connection dating back to middle school. Makoto said she understood, explaining that she wasn't in the same middle school, so she wouldn't know. Takase cursed internally. He realized that he had stepped on a landmine, since talking about middle school with Makoto was a taboo. The class rep hurriedly explained that it wasn't like that, and that she didn't really have a good relationship with Takase. As she struggled to find the right words, she said that to Takase, she was just a convenient woman. Takase immediately told her that what she was saying wasn't helping at all, and the two literally got into a fight. Makoto wondered if the class rep liked Takase, and if so, whether that was why she took notes for him. As Makoto examined the notes, she noticed a drawing that looked familiar. In a flashback, she remembered apologizing to Takase for making him bring her notes every day because she was too scared to return to school. Takase said that it was fine, since he wasn't the only one helping out. Back then, she had noticed that Takase always drew a cute rabbit in math class and wondered if it was a habit. Suddenly, Makoto gasped with realization. Takase and the class rep stopped arguing and asked if something was wrong. Makoto mentally decided that she would never give Takase to anyone else. She asked the class rep if she and Takase were friends. Confused, the class rep said that they were, and Makoto nodded. Then, Makoto asked the class rep if they could be friends, which surprised her. Makoto asked if she didn't want to. The class rep said she didn't mind and asked if Makoto was sure. The class rep explained that from Makoto's perspective, she didn't think Makoto would see her as a good person. Makoto said that it was fine, and that if it was her, then she was okay with it. Makoto asked if they could be friends again. The class rep agreed, and Makoto happily asked for her name. The class rep introduced herself as Kamiki Rin, and Makoto said it was nice to meet her. Internally, she thanked the class rep for helping both her and Takase. Meanwhile, Takase was overwhelmed with emotion and cried quietly, because Makoto had made her first same-gender friend in high school. In the next scene, Takase called out to Makoto. When she answered, he timidly confessed that he loved her and wanted to go out with her. Makoto interrupted him, saying that everything was too convenient for him. She accused him of standing by while she was bullied, taking advantage of her when she was weak, and being a coward. She said that he threw away his responsibility for ruining her bright future, and now he wanted to be happy by himself while forcing that happiness onto her as well. Takase stammered that it wasn't his intention, but Makoto coldly asked what his intention actually was. She mocked him, asking if he wanted to say that he had loved her all along, and if he was stupid. She said that feelings meant nothing if they weren't spoken. She asked if he understood, stating that she was hurt because of him, and that her life was ruined by him. Makoto declared that there was no way she could ever love him, and that she had always hated him deep down because everything was his fault. Takase could only cry and apologize over and over. Just then, he woke up screaming Makoto's name. Panting, he tried to calm himself, realizing that it was just another dream. His sister walked in and told him that breakfast was ready, and he replied that he would be down soon. As they ate, his mother, father, and sister noticed that he seemed down, and they mentally confirmed that it was one of Take's dream days again. According to the Hakubian family rule, Takase has nightmares about 4 times a month, and on those days, the entire family must treat him gently. Following the rule, his sister, mother, and father all offered him their sausages. Confused, Takase asked why they were suddenly giving him sausages. His father said he liked sausages. His sister said meat would give him energy. And his mother said it was a source of protein. After some hesitation, Takase admitted that he liked sausages. Mitaka told Takase that he was handsome and tall, and that her friends always talked about him. His father said that Takase had a good heart and a strong, unwavering core. His mother said that he had a big holy sword, which completely baffled him. Mitaka complained that their mom should at least give a proper compliment, but their mother insisted that it was the highest praise for a man, and Mitaka told her that there were better ways to say it. Just then, Take's mother called out to him again, saying she had something else to tell him. She said that the past was the past and couldn't be redone, so he should focus on what lay ahead. She told him that there were many things he could still do and change, and that even if he had hurt someone precious, he hadn't lost them yet. Seeing that Takase was still gloomy, his father and Mitaka exchanged a glance, and Mitaka told him to eat and get ready. She asked if he was going out with Makoto today, and he said that he was. Before he left, Take's mother stopped him and creepily told him that from now on, he absolutely had to make Makoto happy, or else she would personally stab him. Takase paled and broke out into a cold sweat, but his mother demanded an answer, and he immediately said that he understood. His father dragged him away and whispered that he should be careful, because his mother would probably actually do it. From that day on, the number of nightmares Takase had began to decrease, just a little. It had been about 3 months since Takase started high school, and even as a Mikoto's first kind of guy, he had gradually become familiar with his classmates' faces. Lately, however, something had been bothering him. Whenever he called out to the boys, they scattered like rabbits. The girls wouldn't even look him in the eye and completely ignored him. Takase wondered whether it was just his imagination or if everyone was being cold towards him. They treated him like something fragile, and he wondered if it meant he was hated. And that wasn't the only strange thing happening. Just then, Makoto suddenly got a nosebleed. Takase told her to wait while he fixed it, but he cursed when he realized he didn't have any tissues. As he panicked, a brand new pack of tissues appeared out of nowhere. And this wasn't limited to tissues, something similar had happened before. Once, Makoto had exclaimed that she forgot her eraser. Takase offered to lend her his, and she was thrilled. But when Takase checked his pencil case, he found a poop-shaped eraser with a curry scent, immediately realizing it was his sister's doing. He couldn't give Makoto something like that, but he also couldn't go back on his word. He hissed, unsure of what to do. Just then, he noticed something move behind him. When he turned around, nothing was there. He wondered if it was his imagination. Makoto asked if something was wrong, and Takase brushed it off. But when he checked his pencil case again, he found a brand new eraser inside. Whenever something happened involving Makoto, the perfect item he needed always mysteriously appeared. Back in the present, as Takase wiped Makoto's nose, he found the situation unsettling but decided not to dwell on it. Everything was strange lately, so he chose to focus on Makoto instead. When he finished, he suggested they go to the nurse's office just in case, and she agreed. As they walked away, a voice asked if they were gone, and another confirmed they were. Other voices commented on the nice tissues, and someone said it was time for their usual prayers. Soon, the voices began chanting that Takase and Makoto should get together. You see, Takase and Makoto don't know it yet, but the entire class is slowly closing the net around them. In the next scene, we see Makoto laughing. Takase, who was beside her, asked why she was grinning and why she'd been smiling non-stop. Makoto replied that she was just happy he was coming over to her house. You see, Takase and Makoto usually hung out alone at one of their houses after school. But it was never truly just the two of them, since there was always someone else around, and that always killed the mood. Today, however, was the last day of exams with a morning dismissal, so Makoto's mom wouldn't be home from work yet. In other words, it was their dream moment. Their alone time had finally arrived. But when they walked into Makoto's house, they were greeted by Makoto's mother. Surprised, Makoto asked why she was home. Her mother explained that she had quite a few unused vacation days from work. Hearing that, Makoto asked why it had to be today of all days. She sighed gloomily and told Takase that she would go get her room ready, so he should wait for a bit. Takase agreed, noticing how sharply her mood dropped. As Takase stood beside Makoto's mother, he realized that he had been left behind. Seeing how close Makoto's mother was standing, Takase asked if there was anything he could help her with. Makoto's mother replied that she had no idea that even though Makoto was so lonely, Takase had been coming over before, and that she was the worst, a total failure of a mother. Takase responded that it wasn't too late, and that there was still time to make things right. After a moment of silence, Makoto's mother asked why Takase wasn't scolding her more harshly. Takase wondered what she was talking about. Makoto's mother insisted that she was a terrible person and that he should insult her more, adding that it would be better if he even punished her. Takase was completely baffled by where this was coming from. As Makoto's mother calmed down, she apologized, explaining that at her age, there was no one who properly scolded her anymore. Because of that, she felt crushed by guilt, and she believed that even Makoto would be justified in hitting her. Takase asked what she was saying and added that he wasn't the type of person who could blame mothers like that. But Makoto's mother insisted he was wrong and begged him to punish her. She specifically told him to spank her multiple times while insulting her, shouting, "You vulgar woman, aren't you ashamed at 38 years of age?" Just then, Makoto returned and asked her mother what she was doing. Takase and Makoto's mother broke out into cold sweats. Makoto calmly told her mother that if she did weird things to Takase, she would get angry. Makoto's mother said it wasn't like that and she struggled to explain herself, completely tongue-tied. In the end, she claimed that Takase said he wanted to stay for dinner, which shocked Takase. Makoto lit up and asked Takase if he was sure, saying that he'd be staying until it was late. Laughing, she added that he'd be spending a long time at her place. Takase realized he'd been used as a convenient excuse, but since Makoto's mood had recovered, he decided to accept it as a win. Makoto's mother told Takase to let her know if there was anything he wanted to eat so she could cook it. Makoto said anything was fine, since her mother was good at pretty much everything. Makoto's mom blushed and said she'd listen to anything he asked of her, but Makoto immediately told her to shut up. In the end, Takase asked for a hamburger steak. Makoto told her mother to make it the absolute best, and she agreed. As Takase and Makoto sat together, Makoto stared at him, thinking that the home theater setup was really nice. But even though the mood was good, she was still disappointed that they weren't actually alone. Just then, Takase said he felt relieved. Makoto asked what he meant. He replied that he was relieved she seemed to be getting along with her mother better than he expected. Makoto said they were getting along, though it had been awkward at first. She added that her mother was emotionally dependent on her, and kind of unstable, and that she felt her mom used to be more normal. Takase realized once again that Makoto and her mother were definitely related. And for some reason, he couldn't stop associating Makoto's mother with butts now. But it was fine. After all, he was looking forward to the hamburger steak. As Takase ate the hamburger steak, he thought it was incredibly good, restaurant quality. Makoto's mother asked if it tasted okay, admitting she was a little worried since it had been a while. Takase thought that, just like Makoto, her mom was a natural-born genius. He told her the meal was delicious, and when Makoto's mom let out a strange moan, Makoto told her to stop making weird noises. Takase thought it was dangerous, since Makoto's family was clearly trying to win him over through his stomach. Makoto's mother told him that from now on, he could come over any time, and she'd always give him something delicious. Makoto immediately asked her mom if she was thinking about anything weird. Takase noticed that while Makoto was emotional with him, she was surprisingly unsentimental with her mother. After dinner, Takase thanked them for the meal and said that he would head home before he overstayed his welcome. Makoto grabbed his arm and asked him to stay a little longer. Takase said they'd see each other the next day, but Makoto replied that they didn't even know if they'd be alive by then, so they should stay together now. As Makoto clung to Takase, her mother thought that Makoto had gotten to spend extra time with the boy she loved, which was why parting felt so difficult. As her mother, she felt she had to honor those feelings and be useful. Meanwhile, Takase tried to reassure Makoto that he wasn't going to die, saying that even if he didn't look it, he was actually pretty tough. Before he could finish speaking, Makoto's mother suddenly whacked him on the head with a frying pan. Takase grabbed his head as Makoto asked if he was okay. Makoto stammered, demanding to know why her mother would hit someone with a frying pan out of nowhere, and what she would do if Takase got hurt. Makoto's mother shivered and apologized, explaining that she thought if she knocked him out, he wouldn't be able to leave, and that she acted while thinking about Makoto. Makoto coldly asked what she was talking about, and what she would do if something happened to Takase because of her. In her anger, she nearly asked what kind of mother she was, but Takase stopped her by grabbing her hands. Makoto blushed. Takase thought that he didn't want Makoto to say something like that because of him. He told her he had changed his mind and would stay a little longer. Makoto giggled and asked if he was sure. He replied that he was, and that it was all thanks to the frying pan. Makoto asked if he was really okay, and Takase said his mother's karate chops hit much harder. You see, Takase is really tough. At school, the class rep told Makoto that she had 2 discount tickets for Tokyo Manhwa Land. Makoto said it was amazing and asked how she got them. The class rep ignored the question and replied that she was giving both tickets to Makoto, which confused her. She asked if Makoto understood what she meant. Makoto wondered if she wanted to resell them, but the class rep said that wasn't it. She explained that Makoto should use the tickets to invite Takase on a date during the next holiday. Makoto blushed and stammered, asking what she was talking about. She said that she and Takase weren't even dating yet, and there was no way she'd invite him on a date. She said she absolutely wouldn't invite him on a date. On the next holiday, Takase and Makoto went on a date. Takase said that the place was amazing and that it was his first time there. Makoto said it was her first time too. Makoto wanted to go on a date with Takase, so she obviously invited him. There was no way she'd pass up such a sweet deal. Takase said that he didn't know that they had discount tickets, and he thanked her for inviting him. Makoto worried that she was making him spend his precious day off, and that even with discounts, the tickets weren't free. She wanted to make sure he didn't get bored and decided to make sure he enjoyed every attraction. And so, they went around the theme park, enjoying everything it had to offer. Well, at least until Makoto started feeling sick. At the end of the day, Takase told Makoto that he had fun. When he noticed she looked like she might cry, he asked what was wrong. Wiping her tears, Makoto apologized, saying that because of her, they could barely go on any rides. She said Takase gave up his precious day off and wasted his time and money. She asked if he was bored and said he must have been annoyed being stuck with someone useless like her. She apologized, saying she wanted him to enjoy himself more. Striking a triumphant pose, Takase told her she was wrong and that he had fun. Makoto said that he didn't need to flatter her, since they didn't really do much. But Takase said it wasn't like that. After thinking for a moment, he asked if she knew about shooting games at festivals. She said she did. Takase explained that he used to play those games with his father, and they never won anything. He thought it was a waste of money and unproductive, but his father always smiled and said they should do it again sometime. Seeing Makoto's confusion, Takase apologized and said it came out awkwardly. He explained that it wasn't about the rides or getting their money's worth. Spending time with her was what mattered. Walking around together and chatting was enough. He said that if money mattered, then he paid for a meaningful, fun day and got his money's worth with change to spare. He asked Makoto if she had fun. Makoto said she did, and that playing together like they used to was really fun. Takase said he understood and suggested they come again someday. Makoto agreed, saying she'd like that. Nearby, the class rep secretly watched them and admitted that she was glad that things turned out well. You see, the class rep paid for the tickets herself. When Takase got home, he lay on his bed, wondering if the day had really been fun. Then he remembered what he told Makoto during their date. He blushed, realizing he said something incredibly lame while trying to sound cool. Still, since Makoto seemed fine and things went well, he figured it couldn't have been that bad. She even agreed with him. But then he wondered if she just went along with it, and smiled politely because she didn't understand him. When he remembered that he suddenly started telling her about random stories from the past, he was embarrassed. He wondered what kind of stupid shooting game story that even was and wished a ricochet would end him. He reassured himself that the day being fun was undeniable. One moment of shame didn't erase everything else. After all, nothing was more fun than spending a day off with Makoto. He couldn't help thinking of it as a date. Even if he felt gross by his own standards, it was okay because it was fun. Then he paused. He imagined himself making a gross face the entire time. And he wondered if Makoto felt sick because of it. If so, then what was the best day for him might have been the worst for her. The more he thought about it, the creepier everything felt. Unable to tear his pillow apart, he threw it at the wall instead. When he finally calmed down, he wondered if the outing hadn't actually been fun for Makoto, and if he'd just gotten carried away. Depressed, he sighed. Just then, Takase received a message from Makoto. She thanked him for the day, saying she had so much fun and that she wasn't lying. It was the best day ever. She asked if they could do it again sometime, adding that if he didn't enjoy it, he didn't have to force himself. Takase smiled, relieved that maybe he wasn't that gross after all. Meanwhile, Makoto worried whether Takase would think she was gross. At school, the class rep finished arranging her books and glanced over at Makoto and Takase talking together. She wore a smug smile, pleased that the distance between them had clearly shrunk. The date plan had been a huge success. She hoped things would keep progressing well. Takase always looked his best when he was with Makoto, and she loved his smile. More than that, she admired how devoted and earnest he was toward Makoto. There was no way Makoto, the girl he adored, wasn't the best. No, Makoto had to be the best. She considered that what she felt might be romantic, but it was directed toward Takase as he was now, straightforward and devoted to Makoto. She couldn't love a Takase who wasn't like that. So, she decided to keep shipping them. A world where Takase looked at anyone other than Makoto would betray the canon. That meant she wasn't in love with Takase himself, but with the preciousness of Takase and Makoto together. Just then, Takase called out to her, startling her. She'd been so lost in thought that she hadn't noticed. She stammered and asked what he needed. Takase explained that his holy sword was ready for action, and the class rep asked him why. Takase said that Makoto had been closer than usual, and her scent made him active. The class rep blushed and asked why he was telling her this. Takase said that Makoto was a girl and he begged the class rep to cover for him with Makoto so she wouldn't find out. He didn't want Makoto to think that he suddenly hunched over and left because of his holy sword, since it'd be the end of him if she knew. At that, the class rep reminded him that she was also a girl. Takase ignored that and pleaded with her, saying it was for Makoto's sake. She wondered how that made any sense, since it was completely personal, and his handsome face only made it worse. But she couldn't refuse. Once he said it was for Makoto, her body moved on its own. For the sake of their relationship, she'd do anything. She reluctantly agreed to cover for him. As Takase walked away, he thanked her and said he was heading to the bathroom. She sighed, reminding herself that she was just a helpless shipper. As long as Takase was happy, that was enough. Still, if she could be a little selfish, she hoped she could give a speech at their wedding and be the godparent to their kids, maybe even end up with one of them. As her thoughts spiraled, she wondered how she should explain Take's situation to Makoto. When Takase returned, Makoto asked if his kidney stones were okay. Takase froze, wondering what on earth the class rep had told her. As Makoto lay in the bath, she remembered Takase telling her that it was fun being with her. She thought that if Takase found being together fun, then that meant he didn't hate being with her. She believed that had to be true, and she laughed to herself, muttering that she loved Takase so much. She thought that maybe she could finally have a closer, more honest conversation with him. But then she suddenly got a nosebleed. Complaining about losing her cool again, she went to the sink to look for tissues. When she caught sight of her reflection, she froze. She spoke quietly to herself, wondering what she was getting so worked up about. After all, she and Takase could never have that kind of relationship. She thought that the only reason Takase said it was fun to be with her was because they were childhood friends, and that she was just using up the goodwill from their past. Above all, she believed it was only because Takase was such a good person that he hadn't abandoned someone as ugly as her, and still stayed by her side. She was clinging to that kindness. She convinced herself that if a better girl ever appeared in front of Takase, she would be cast aside. But she didn't want to be abandoned. She didn't want to be hated. She didn't want to be alone again, and she didn't want him to leave her. Crying, she whispered that she wanted to be with Takase forever. As Makoto sobbed, her mother overheard her. That night, Takase received a call from Makoto's mother. As he answered, he wondered if something was wrong. Makoto's mother apologized for calling so suddenly and asked if he could come over for Makoto right away, saying she would drive him. As Takase struggled to respond, Makoto's mother apologized again and added that she was already there. When Takase looked out his window, he saw her waving at him with a smile. At Makoto's house, Takase greeted her, and she was startled, wondering why he was there so late at night. Takase laughed awkwardly and said that he didn't really know either, since he had just been brought there. He asked if something had happened. Makoto glanced at her mother, suspecting she had done something again. Makoto thought Takase must be angry for being called out so late. She immediately apologized and asked if her mother had been a bother. Takase said it wasn't a problem at all and that he was just surprised by how proactive her mother was. When Makoto asked if he was sure, he said he was, adding that he was worried something had happened to her, but he was relieved she was safe. Makoto said that Takase was a really good person, and that for someone as worthless as her, it was more than she deserved. Takase asked what she was talking about, and what had really happened. Makoto admitted that she was always taking advantage of his kindness. Takase told her she was wrong, saying it wasn't because he was kind, it was because she was Makoto that he came. To him, she was someone special. Makoto asked whether she was special because they were childhood friends, or because she had become messed up. Takase said that was part of it, but not all of it. She asked him what the rest was. Takase fell silent. When Makoto asked what was wrong, he wanted to say that it was because he loved her, but the words wouldn't come out. It was such a short phrase, such a simple answer, yet he couldn't say it. He thought he must never say it. He believed that Makoto wasn't the one relying on kindness, it was him. Even though he knew she was suffering, he had stood by and watched. He was a coward who only drew closer when she was already broken. Even though Makoto would have been justified in cutting someone like him off, she stayed with him. For him to confess his feelings now would be selfish, greedy, and unforgivable. So he chose to stay vague again, offering comforting words that wouldn't cause trouble, convincing himself that his feelings didn't matter. As long as Makoto was happy, that was enough, even if he wasn't by her side. Even if he had to leave her. But when he imagined leaving Makoto, he realized he couldn't. He didn't want to. With teary eyes, he told her that what made her special was that he wanted to be with her forever. The moment he realized what he said, he panicked. Makoto asked what he meant, and told him to explain it clearly. Takase couldn't answer. He didn't know why the words had slipped out. Makoto's mother asked if everything he'd been bottling up had finally spilled out. Takase blushed and hurriedly explained that he didn't mean it in a dirty way. Makoto then asked if he meant it in a lewd way. Takase covered his face and said he was going home, claiming it was too much for him. Makoto's mother asked why he was leaving when he just said he wanted to be with Makoto forever. Takase told her to stop being pedantic. Before leaving, he told Makoto that he'd see her the next day and that they should walk together again like always, just the two of them. Makoto agreed, thanked her mother, and her mother began making strange noises, prompting Makoto to tell her to stop moaning and to give Takase a ride home. In the next scene, Take's sister, Mitaka, stood cutely beside their father and asked if he could give her more pocket money. He asked if he hadn't just given her some recently. Mitaka explained that she used it on necessary expenses, and that since she was a girl, at her age, she needed more cosmetics and things. Before she could finish, she was dragged away by Takase. He scolded her, saying their father was under their mother's thumb and completely penniless, so she shouldn't mooch off him. Mitaka replied that their mother would never give her pocket money, so asking their soft-hearted father was the standard strategy. Takase told her to lower her voice so their dad wouldn't hear. After arguing, Mitaka went back and asked again, saying she loved her father the most. He eventually agreed, saying he'd only give her a little, and she cheered. Takase warned his father not to overdo it, but he said it was fine. Then, he reached into his mouth. After a series of disturbing retching sounds, he pulled out a money pouch, explaining it was his secret stash. Takase told him it was gross and asked him where he pulled it from. His father explained that he tied the pouch with piano wire around a molar and hid it in his stomach. He added that his previous hiding spot, the sandal strap, had been discovered, but this method hadn't failed yet. He even recommended it. Takase told him not to recommend something so insane. His father handed Mitaka the money, and she thanked him enthusiastically. Takase asked if he was really okay with losing his savings, but his father said it was fine. He explained that daughters eventually stopped talking to their fathers, so if money was what kept her attention now, he didn't mind. The next day, Takase noticed his father looked completely drained. His father explained that Takase's mother found the stash and took even more energy than usual. Takase paled, realizing his father lost both his money and his vitality, and that he didn't seem well. His father said he would buy Takase's mother some sweets as an apology with the remains of his secret savings. As he walked away, he wondered if his wife would forgive him, and Takase wondered if his father was okay. The following day, his father looked even worse. His father said they made up, but Takase's mother was so happy that she drained him even more. Takase tried to stop him, saying he was getting drained no matter what. His father admitted that Takase's mother was insane, but that was why he loved her. He explained that she terrified him at first. She chased him, she controlled him, and she even trespassed. But over time, it became normal, and before he knew it, he was head over heels for her, and now he loved everything about her. He said that Takase's mother was a dangerous person, but that was what he loved about her. Smiling, he said he was going back again today to be attacked. As his father left, he said he'd go and continue his writing. Mitaka commented that their parents suited each other, like a lid for a cracked pot. Takase wondered if his father simply adapted, and he wondered how his dad fell for someone so troublesome. And he imagined how hard every day was for his father. As Mitaka thought about Makoto, she thought that Takase was the same as his father. At school, Takase complained that it was getting hot and that he had switched to short sleeves. Makoto replied that summer was almost here. In the classroom, the class rep greeted them and Takase commented that she was also wearing short sleeves. She said it suddenly got hot, so she changed. Takase agreed that it was really hot. And with a peek, he noticed Makoto was still wearing a sweater. He decided not to comment, thinking it would be insensitive to say something about a girl's fashion choice. But the class rep directly asked Makoto if she wasn't hot. Takase panicked, breaking into a cold sweat. He wondered if the class rep didn't realize how fragile Makoto was, or if she was getting too cocky because Makoto saw her as a friend. Before answering, Makoto recalled a memory. In it, Takase told her that they'd work hard together in high school. But she wondered if she would be okay. She asked if she was weird and if he hated being with her because of her scars. He told her that she wasn't weird, that he didn't hate being with her, and that she could always rely on him. When he saw that she was still anxious, he asked her if she was wearing a sweater, and she said that she was, since it was loose and it made her feel calm. Takase told her that it suited her, and that she looked super cute. And Makoto blushed as she asked him if he was sure. He told her that he was and that he felt like he got to see something great on the first day of high school. At that, Makoto said that maybe being in high school wasn't so bad after all. Back in the present, Makoto said that the sweater was her identity. Takase reminded her she took it off before, leaving her tongue-tied. She couldn't admit she exposed her sweaty blouse because she wanted to see if he'd react, so she said it was a whim. The class rep said that she didn't want Makoto to harm her health, and warned that it would be bad if she got a heat stroke. But Makoto insisted. So, Takase suggested surrounding her with icicles. The class rep remarked that Takase's IQ seemed to drop whenever it came to Makoto. At that, Takase asked her what her suggestion was and if she was just going to abandon Makoto to suffer. The class rep told him to be quiet, and added that she brought up the sweater issue because she already had an answer in mind. Then, she revealed the sweater and Takase asked her if she stole Makoto's sweater. The class rep called him an idiot, and explained that it was a custom version of the sweater. When she gave it to Makoto, Makoto noticed that it was different from hers. The class rep explained that it was a summer version of Makoto's sweater made with permeable fabric. She added that it was okay to say no to things she hated, but she didn't need to force herself to suffer. When Takase asked about what would happen when the summer heat became serious, and the class rep explained that she controlled the AC. She said that she would freeze the room without a care for anyone's lives if needed. Takase commented that her IQ seemed to be dropping and the class rep asked if he would choose others over Makoto. He said he wouldn't, and she called him an indecisive fool and an icicle freak. Makoto then asked Takase if short sleeves were weird and if he thought she looked better in a sweater. Takase said summer clothes would suit her and that they were cute in their own way. At that, Makoto decided she'd switch outfits soon, since it was hot. Takase asked her what happened to her identity. The class rep concluded that Takase was the problem. Makoto's identity depended on him. As Makoto lay on her bed, she lovingly stared at Takase's picture. As she remembered when Takase said that he wanted to be with her forever, she thought that meant she had become someone valuable and useful to him. She hugged her pillow as she laughed, saying that Takase needed her. She thought that if that was the case, then she had to live up to his expectations and that she couldn't let him down. Otherwise, he might tell her that she was a letdown, that he hated her for being a useless girl, and that she should get out of his sight. Makoto paled as she imagined being abandoned by Takase. With that fear lingering in her chest, she decided that starting the next day, she would work hard. The next day, she handed Takase a book. When he asked what it was, she explained that she had made prep notes for all of the day's classes. Takase was surprised, and he asked her if it was really okay for him to take it. She said that it was, since she had made them just for him. Takase thanked her, and as he browsed through the pages, he told her that the notes were really intuitive. He wondered aloud if he could truly accept them, then added that Makoto was really smart. Makoto laughed at the praise and asked if he really thought so. By lunchtime, Takase realized just how helpful Makoto's notes were. Makoto called out to him, and when he asked what was up, she handed him a jumbo-sized bento she had made for him and asked if he wanted to try it. He was shocked. She quickly added that it would be fine if he didn't want to. He hurriedly replied that he would take it, since homemade food wasn't something you got to eat often, and he decided to eat every last bite. When he was finished, he was so full that he couldn't even drink water. Still, he found the food unbelievably delicious. He told Makoto that it was amazing, that she was an incredible cook, and that the meal was at restaurant level. Makoto laughed giddily at the praise. During the afternoon class, a teacher enthusiastically announced that there would be a pop quiz, prompting complaints from all the students. After the test, Takase calmly stared at his score of 85. As he listened to his classmates complain about how brutal the quiz was, how they couldn't do anything, and how one of them claimed no one could succeed because it was a test given by the demonic pigtails, he smiled. Just then, Makoto called out to him. She told him that she had done her best, and he was surprised to see that she had earned a perfect score. Takase called Makoto a genius, and she blushed as she asked if she really was a genius. He insisted that she was and told her that she was amazing, since she could do anything she put her mind to. Makoto was overwhelmed as she received even more praise. Normally, Makoto's self-esteem was abysmally low. But when a string of compliments came from the boy she adored, her heart became elated, and for a brief moment, she slipped into her cocky, teasing mode. Takase cursed as he said that the pop quiz had been his strong subject, and that he had been confident he would win. When Makoto heard that, she called him a loser and asked if he was frustrated. At that, Takase's expression changed, and when Makoto noticed, she grew worried. When she called out to him, he said that she was right and that she could do everything, so she didn't even need someone like him. Horrified, Makoto grabbed onto Takase, causing him to ask why she had suddenly grabbed him. Makoto apologized, saying she had gotten carried away and that she wouldn't do it again. She begged him not to leave her and not to start hating her. Takase laughed it off and said that he was just joking, teasing her back because she had teased him first. He reminded her that back in grade school, they used to do it all the time. He told her not to worry, since it was just like back then, and that he hadn't changed one bit since those days. But Makoto told him that wasn't true, since he had become way cooler than he used to be. This time, it was Takase's turn to blush. Makoto told him there was no way he hadn't changed, while she, on the other hand, had become a mess. Takase said that he was fine with the present Makoto. He thought that this was how he would do it. Bit by bit, through moments like these, he would mend his bond with her. When Makoto asked if he hated the old her, Takase said that wasn't it at all. And Takase thought that if he continued like this, then one day, he would be able to tell her that he loved her. As Takase walked to his classroom with drinks in hand, he remembered how Makoto had suggested they play rock paper scissors and asked if it would be okay if the loser had to go buy the drinks. Takase thought that if this had happened before, she would have insisted on buying them herself, just as she used to insist on doing everything so that she could be useful to him, and he wondered if he was making progress little by little with Makoto. He also realized that he had never once beaten her in rock paper scissors. Just then, he noticed 3 girls laughing and blocking the hallway. Deciding not to overthink it, Takase figured he could simply ask them to move. So he called out to them, saying he would like to pass through. The moment they heard him, however, the girls shuddered. Takase frowned, wondering why they had frozen up. It stung a little that they seemed to ignore him. Meanwhile, the girls began whispering among themselves. One of them asked if that was Takase from the next class. The second one confirmed it. And the third one asked if it was true that he had a girlfriend. She added that there were rumors he ran an underground gang and that he was scary. Just then, someone else approached and called out to the 3 girls. The moment they saw who it was, their faces brightened. The newcomer told them they should not block the hallway and that they were causing trouble for Takase. The newcomer was named Ray. Takase inwardly noted that she was a prince-type girl. The girls quickly apologized and dashed off, saying Ray was right. Takase tried to thank Ray for her help, but she cut him off. She told him that his eyes were scary and that he needed to appear more casual. If he stared at people with those bottomless eyes, they would shrink in fear. Takase remembered that his father once told him that his eyes were just like his mother's and had warned him to be careful about it. He accepted Ray's advice and said he would be mindful. Ray sighed and asked if he thought he could get along with Makoto like that. Takase again said he would try to be more careful. But then he noticed she had suddenly brought up Makoto, and wondered why. Without warning, Ray began rambling about Makoto. Takase had no idea what was wrong with her. She had appeared out of nowhere and started lecturing him about Makoto. When she was finally done, she took a deep breath, as if satisfied. She waved goodbye and said she was busy, leaving Takase wondering what had just happened. She had talked his ear off and left as if nothing was strange. But as she walked away, something slipped from her pocket. Takase picked it up and called after her. She complained that she had already told him she was busy. Takase told her she had dropped her student ID. Immediately, she dashed back and swiftly snatched it from his hand, startling him. She cursed under her breath and demanded to know if he had seen it. Ray trembled, tears welling in her eyes, as she begged him never to tell anyone about her ID card. Baffled, Takase agreed to keep it a secret. Still, he couldn't help but wonder what was wrong with her. Later, Takase met up with Makoto. Seeing that she was struggling to open her canned drink, he gently took it from her and opened it with ease. As she took a sip, she asked him if it tasted good, and he replied that it did. Yet Take's thoughts were elsewhere. He desperately wanted to ask her about Ray. Since Ray had mentioned Makoto's name, he couldn't stop wondering about their relationship and who Ray had been to her. The question lingered in his mind. But he hesitated. Without knowing what kind of connection they had, he assumed they must have known each other in middle school. Then he remembered the scar Makoto had gotten back then. Was it really okay to ask about Ray? He didn't want to reopen old wounds. Makoto noticed he seemed lost in thought and asked if something was wrong. He quickly brushed it off, saying it was nothing. Still, the matter weighed on him. Unsure what else to do, he chose his last option. He asked the class representative if she knew Ray, and she said that she did. The class rep asked why he was asking, since he showed zero interest in anyone other than Makoto. Takase explained that Ray had suddenly started talking about Makoto, so he became curious. He wondered if they had known each other in middle school. The class rep confirmed that Ray was connected to Makoto in some way. She explained that Makoto had been amazing in middle school and that Ray was one of those drawn to her charisma. Ray had hung around Makoto and considered herself her friend. But when Makoto was cornered, Ray ran away, afraid of being dragged into it. Afterward, she sided with the bullies and pretended not to know Makoto. Takase sighed and murmured that she had pretended not to see, just like he once had. The class rep pinched his cheek and scolded him not to get mopey. He hadn't run away, she said. He had faced the situation and reached out to Makoto. He had saved her. When she finished, Takase asked how she knew so much about Makoto's personal life. She froze. Inwardly, she knew it was because she had investigated everything about both him and Makoto. But she couldn't admit that, so she quickly changed the subject. She grumbled that she was irritated that someone like Ray was reinventing herself as a flashy prince type for her high school debut, and she warned Takase not to bring up the conversation again. Takase apologized and thanked her for always helping him. She blushed and called him a dummy. That evening, Takase walked Makoto home. They waved goodbye, and before he left, she said she would call him later that night, and he agreed. As he walked away, he reached for his phone, only to realize he had left it at school. Sighing, he turned back. When he returned to the classroom to retrieve it, he was surprised to see someone inside at that hour. Even more shocking was where the person was sitting. In Makoto's seat. It was Ray. And she was making strange noises. Takase broke into a cold sweat, wondering what on earth she was doing. Takase called out to her, startling her badly. Ray leapt off the chair and pointed at it, insisting there were no abnormalities and that it was a perfectly fine chair. Takase told her that she was the abnormality, and demanded to know what she was doing in Makoto's seat. Tensed, Ray immediately countered, asking what he was doing at school so late. He tried to explain that he had forgotten his phone, but she cut him off, accusing him of being a terrible man for leaving Makoto behind. He denied it. She refused to listen, angrily saying that someone like him got to spend every day with Makoto. Blushing furiously, she accused him of probably doing things like that with her. He blushed in return and asked what she meant by that. Then, suddenly, Ray broke down in tears. She said she loved Makoto more than he did. Takase stood there speechless. Ray confessed that back then, if she hadn't been such a gloomy, cowardly loser, she could have saved Makoto. She believed that even if Takase hadn't been there, she could have done it. But instead of helping, she ran away. She had been afraid of being ostracized. Even now, she was still running, hiding behind a new persona. She cursed herself over and over. She demanded to know how Takase could dedicate so much of himself to someone else. She hated him for it. But more than anything, she envied him. Because she wanted to be like him. Takase calmly told her he wasn't someone worth envying. If he had reached out sooner, things wouldn't have ended the way they did. All he had now were regrets. He told her to stop trying to be like him. And he added that he definitely loved Makoto more than she did. He admitted that until moments ago, he had thought Ray was just a weirdo. But now he understood. She truly loved Makoto. And that frightened him. Because a part of him feared losing Makoto. Still, he declared that he would never lose her. He would put his life on the line to make her happy. If Ray wanted to keep running, he said, then she could continue running forever. Ray snorted and retorted that he could think whatever he liked. She was sure Makoto liked her. Back in middle school, she had been the one Makoto spent time with. Makoto had greeted her every day with kindness. That meant she definitely loved her. Takase called her an idiot, insisting Makoto was simply kind to everyone. As they argued, Takase thought that Makoto was radiant beyond compare. Maybe he had never truly stood a chance. But he would still move forward. Ray called out to him again. She said she wanted to stop running and apologized to Makoto. Takase told her to do whatever she wanted. She said she would, but she was afraid to face Makoto alone. So, Ray asked him to mediate for her. Takase felt a cold sweat break out. But he agreed. Ray hesitated, then smiled and said he was surprisingly kind and a big help. Takase asked Ray what she had been doing alone in the classroom earlier. She answered that she was feeling the lingering warmth of the chair Makoto had been sitting in. Once again, Takase wondered what was wrong with her. When Ray finally stood before Makoto, she was sweating profusely, unsure how to begin. She glanced back at Takase for support, and he mouthed that she could do it. Ray took a deep breath and stuttered out a greeting, saying it had been a while. Makoto blinked and asked who she was. Ray went pale. Takase quickly stepped in, calling Ray an idiot and explaining that she had changed her appearance so much that Makoto wouldn't recognize her unless she introduced herself. Ray timidly gave her name, I am Ray. Makoto's eyes widened in recognition. She admitted she hadn't recognized her, and said it really had been a while. Ray laughed awkwardly, relieved. Makoto then asked if Ray needed something. Ray's throat tightened. She told herself she would not run anymore. No matter how Makoto responded, she would say it. She bowed deeply. And apologized. She said she had called herself Makoto's friend but betrayed her. She had pretended not to see what was happening. And for that, she was sorry. Makoto looked confused and asked what she meant. She said that although she didn't understand, she wasn't angry at Ray. Ray explained that she had suddenly started pretending they weren't friends. When Makoto stopped coming to school, she had gone along with everyone else. She had even gossiped about her. Makoto said Ray hadn't done anything to her directly, so she hadn't really thought much about it. She added that Ray must have been carrying that guilt all this time, and that must have been difficult. Ray stared at her in disbelief. Since Ray insisted so strongly, Makoto thanked her for apologizing and said she forgave her. Makoto asked if that was okay and Ray said that it was. Makoto asked if that was all and Ray said that it was. And just like that, Ray's soul seemed to leave her body. She deflated like a balloon. Makoto looked worried and asked Takase what she should do, since Ray had started crying. Takase told her to let Ray be. For Ray, that heavy first step had been the hardest. If some part of the resentment within her had finally been resolved, then Takase couldn't help but envy her just a little. On their way home, Takase apologized to Makoto for suddenly bringing an old acquaintance to see her. Makoto accepted, admitting that she had been surprised. He asked if Ray had changed a lot and Makoto said that she had. But inwardly, Makoto admitted what had truly unsettled her was that Takase had brought an unfamiliar girl to her so suddenly. For a moment, she feared the day had come when Takase would abandon her. Takase commented that Ray's apology must have been very important to her. Makoto reflected that she hadn't forgotten Ray, she simply hadn't thought of her much. Even so, Ray had clearly been troubled all this time. And that thought led her somewhere uncomfortable. Did Takase also feel that way about her? She had always believed he stayed by her side because he was kind and gentle. But what if it was guilt? She didn't want that. She didn't want to be the reason he suffered. It wasn't his fault. She didn't want guilt to be the reason he remained with her. She called out to him. She told him it wasn't about Ray and that she wasn't worried about anything. She could never hate him. It was her own fault that she had changed and being with him made her happy. So happy that she was scared of losing him. Scared he would hate her. Scared of being separated again. She didn't want him to hate her. She admitted she was just being insecure. He had never done anything wrong, so he should never apologize for her sake. When she saw how downcast Takase looked, she panicked. She hurriedly apologized, asking if she had sounded arrogant. She said she had spoken selfishly and irrelevantly. But Takase told her it wasn't like that. Afterward, he walked her home. She waved goodbye, reminding him she might call later. He agreed and said he would see her tomorrow. As Takase walked home alone, he thought about how kind Makoto was. She had said all that for his sake. But this was something he had to face himself. It was his problem. That was why he had to stay strong. When he arrived home, his little sister, Mitaka, greeted him cheerfully. But the moment she saw his tears, she asked what was wrong and whether something had happened. Takase cursed under his breath and said that Makoto shouldn't act like he was the one who had saved her. The next scene begins with Mitaka celebrating the beginning of summer break. She went around the house, telling each of her family members that it was summer break, but when she reached Takase, he told her to shut up since it was just a regular summer break. Mitaka told him that it wasn't normal, because there would be a summer vacation and she was so excited for it. Just then, her mother called out to her, and when she answered, her mother reminded her, with a creepy expression, that she had entrance exams next year and would be spending half of her break in summer classes. At that, Mitaka froze. Meanwhile, Takase's mother told Takase that it would be his first high school summer break and advised him to have fun, while also asking if he had any plans. Mitaka clung to Takase as she complained about how unfair it was. As the mood in the room shifted, Takase thought for a bit and said that he didn't really have any plans for summer break. At that, his mother menacingly glared at him. Startled, Takase backed away in fright and asked his mother what was wrong. Mitaka patted him and told him that he was an idiot, and he immediately asked her what she had just said. Mitaka explained that it was summer break, so he had no choice but to go have tons of fun with Makoto and make memories together. At that, Takase was speechless, but Mitaka continued, explaining that they could go to festivals, the pool, fireworks, and the beach, and that they could even stay up all night playing games together. Takase's father said that was what youth was about, but Takase's mother went even further and said they could spend their first night together. At that, Takase's father quickly advised his wife to please calm down. With everyone's expectations pressing in on him, Takase finally admitted that they were right, and he confessed that he also wanted to do something summery with Makoto. At that, Takase's mother beamed and told him that it was decided, which made Takase immediately ask what exactly was decided. His mother simply told him that they would be bringing that thing back. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Makoto was thinking to herself that summer break had arrived, and she didn't like it. She wanted to see Takase every day, but she worried that going to see him every day when there was no school would be annoying for him. Still, she thought that at the very least she could fantasize about a deep summer vacation with Takase, where she could make memories with him. She imagined days when both the summer air and their emotions were hot, and before they even realized it, they would be swayed by the summer heat. In her imagination, Takase was all sweaty, telling her that he couldn't hold it back anymore and that he wanted them to do something naughty. At that thought, Makoto blushed furiously and freaked out, telling herself that such a thing wouldn't happen and desperately trying to stop her own imagination from running wild. Just then, her phone rang and she screamed in surprise. However, when she cautiously moved closer, she saw that it was a call from Takase. Her heart leaped. She was so happy to get a call from him, and she wondered what it could be about. When she picked up, they exchanged greetings, and Takase apologized for calling her out of the blue before asking if she was free during summer break. At that, Makoto wondered if this was what she thought it was. She quickly told him that she was super free and so free that she might even go crazy. Takase laughed in relief and said he was glad to hear that. Then he asked if she remembered when she went camping with his family a long time ago. He explained that they hadn't had the chance to go in recent years, and he asked if she would like to go with them again. Makoto enthusiastically responded, saying that she would definitely go. The next day at school, the homeroom teacher informed the students that summer vacation would start the following day and advised them not to get too wild before dismissing the class. As soon as she left, the classroom atmosphere shifted. Makoto turned to Takase and asked if they were really starting tomorrow, and Takase confirmed that they were. Not wanting to waste time, Takase suggested that they head home early. Makoto agreed, saying that they had to prepare for the next day, but since she would feel so lonely, she asked if they could at least talk a lot on their way home. From a short distance away, the class rep, who had been monitoring them, observed their restless energy. She concluded that there was definitely a big event planned for Takase and Makoto during summer break and that it would undoubtedly be an absolutely incredible lovey-dovey event. The thought alone made her strangely happy, as she believed their relationship would deepen even more. However, that realization only fueled her curiosity. She began to wonder what exactly they were planning to do, and the more she thought about it, the more curious she became. Even though she knew she shouldn't get too involved, she was a troublesome fan at heart, and simply couldn't help herself. And so, unable to resist any longer, she immediately dashed off, chasing after them. Later, at home, Makoto decided that it was finally time to get ready for the trip, and her mother happily agreed. As Makoto began preparing her things, her mother asked if she had packed her sunscreen. She added that it was fine if Makoto hadn't packed any, since she would bring hers and could lend it to her. At that, Makoto paused and asked her mother if she was coming along. Her mother tilted her head and asked if that wasn't allowed. That simple exchange left both of them standing there in speechless silence. The following day, in the car, Makoto's mother asked Takase if they were truly going to a summer resort with a lake, and Takase replied that they were. She then asked if the land belonged to his grandfather and mentioned that she had checked it on the map, adding that it looked like a place with very fresh air. Makoto's mother continued, saying that she had always wanted to visit a hidden gem like that, somewhere tucked away within the mountains. As Takase glanced at Makoto sitting beside him, he noticed her quietly sigh. Takase had suspected something like this might happen, but he was still surprised that Makoto's mother had decided to come along. She casually claimed that she was just the driver who was there to drop Makoto off. However, judging by her enthusiasm, she did not look like someone who was merely dropping her daughter off. Makoto's mother asked if it was really okay that they had taken two separate cars, mentioning that she could have gotten a bigger vehicle and driven Takase and his entire family together. Takase quickly assured her that it was perfectly fine. Internally, he thought that there was absolutely no way he could put Makoto's monster of a mother and his own mother in the same space. Just then, Makoto gently asked her mother not to cause any trouble for Takase and his family. She reminded her that she wasn't originally supposed to come on the trip with them, so there was no place prepared for her to stay, and in the worst case, she might have to sleep in the car. Makoto's mother simply looked back at them with a smile and replied that it was fine, since she had already booked a villa right next to theirs so she could rush over instantly if anything happened. Makoto sighed but didn't argue further, instead telling her mother to keep her eyes on the road. Watching all of this unfold, Takase could only conclude that Makoto's mother was a monster of pure initiative. Trying to steady himself, Takase decided to pull himself together for the sake of his precious vacation with Makoto. He wondered how long it had been since he had last spent a summer vacation with her. Was it back in 6th grade? Or during the gap they had in middle school? Even though they had technically been around each other during the summer of their 3rd year of middle school, it hadn't been a time filled with fun. This time, he wanted to give Makoto as many good memories as possible. He wanted to give her the best summer vacation ever. As if sensing his thoughts, Makoto suddenly called out to him. She reminded him that the lake they were visiting had a shallow area and a sandy beach, and she asked if he remembered how they used to play in the water there together. Takase smiled and said that he remembered. Then, lowering her voice mischievously, Makoto whispered that she had bought a new and amazing swimsuit. At that, Takase was completely baffled. Makoto leaned in closer and told him that later, when they were alone, she would secretly show it to him. Hearing that, Takase couldn't help but think that this would probably be the best summer vacation ever. When they finally arrived at the resort, Take's aunt, Ryuko, welcomed them warmly, saying she was glad they had come. She wondered aloud whether it had been 3 or 4 years since their last visit and added that either way, she was happy to see them. Takase told her that it had indeed been a while since they last met. Ryuko looked him up and down and remarked that he had gotten bigger. She teasingly added that even though they were family, he was totally her type, and she also commented that Mitaka had grown into more of a young lady. Ryuko told Takase that he had brought his pretty girlfriend with him, although her vibe felt different from the last time she saw her. Without any filter, Ryuko added that Mikoto's jiggles were a feast for the eyes and that she had the urge to grab them. Internally, Takase thought that Ryuko seriously needed more tact, while Mitaka bluntly said that Ryuko would probably end up single for life. After the chaotic greeting, Mitaka asked where Makoto was. Takase replied that she had gone with her mother to drop off her things. Mitaka realized what that implied and said that if that was the case, then Makoto must be meeting their parents right about now. Takase admitted that she was probably right. Then, his face turned pale. Suddenly, Takase took off running, shouting that this was bad. Mitaka hurriedly chased after him, calling for him to wait. When she finally caught up, she demanded to know what he meant by bad, and what exactly was going on with Makoto and their parents. Takase clarified that it wasn't about Makoto, it was about Makoto's mother. He recalled how his own mother had always adored Makoto, and he realized there was no way she had a good impression of Makoto's mother after everything that had happened. Because of that, he had originally planned to position himself between them when they met, but he had let his guard down. And knowing his mother, in the worst-case scenario, she might actually kill Makoto's mother. As they sprinted off together, they left Ryuko behind, who simply muttered that they really were such good siblings. When Takase and Mitaka arrived at the scene, they found their mother and Makoto's mother standing in a tense face-off. Takase felt his stomach drop, convinced that it was already too late, and that the two most dangerous people had finally come face to face. However, Take's mother immediately took note of Makoto standing nearby. Makoto's mother politely greeted Take's mother, and to everyone's surprise, she politely greeted her back. Takase blinked in shock at how normal they were acting. Mitaka quietly explained that their mother was probably being considerate because Makoto was present, and didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable. Just as Takase began to relax, thinking that the crisis had been avoided, his mother suddenly called out to him. When he asked what she wanted, she firmly ordered him to take Makoto elsewhere and go have fun with her. She said she had some things she needed to discuss with Makoto's mother. Seeing that Takase wasn't moving, she sharply asked what he was still doing there, and told him to get going. Though he agreed to leave, he had a bad feeling about leaving his mother alone with Makoto's mother. As he turned away, Mitaka assured him not to worry and said she would keep watch. Takase nodded and told her he was counting on her. As they walked away, Makoto asked Takase what he thought their mothers were talking about. Trying to sound casual, Takase suggested that maybe they were discussing dinner plans. Makoto brightened and told him to look forward to it, explaining that her mother had bought some really good meat for tonight, and that she had personally picked it out at the market. Although Takase was internally terrified, he forced a smile and told Makoto that he would definitely be looking forward to it. Noticing the look in Take's eyes, Makoto asked if he was feeling unwell or if he simply didn't want to be with her. Take smiled and told her it wasn't like that at all. Internally, he reminded himself that there was no point worrying anymore. What really mattered was that he had to say something funny or interesting to Makoto. But just then, their hands brushed against each other. Flustered, they both quickly pulled away. Takase immediately apologized, but Makoto insisted that she should be the one saying sorry. After a brief pause, Makoto glanced around to make sure they were alone. Then she called out to him softly and said that since they were alone, and since her hand felt lonely, maybe he could keep it company. Baffled, Takase asked what she meant by her hand feeling lonely. He asked her if she was joking about holding hands. But then it hit him, that was exactly what she meant. Makoto hurriedly apologized, saying there must be something wrong with her head, that what she said was weird and too sudden. She asked him to forget it, and pretend it never happened. But to her surprise, Takase suggested they hold hands. Makoto blinked at him in shock. Takase explained that they used to hold hands all the time as kids, so it shouldn't be strange now. And so, Takase and Makoto held hands. Each quietly thought about how the other's hand felt, hers soft, his big. As they walked, Takase secretly prayed that his hand wouldn't start sweating. As they continued forward, Makoto, looking around thoughtfully, said that she remembered this place. When Takase asked what she meant, she explained that this was where they used to play in the water. Takase frowned, unsure, and asked if it really was the same place. Makoto nodded confidently. It was definitely the spot. Back then, he had been rather small. She recalled how she once scared him from behind, causing him to fall onto his butt. Since he hadn't changed into his swimsuit yet, his underwear got completely soaked. Seeing Take's expression stiffen, Makoto quickly apologized, saying she got carried away. She wasn't trying to tease him, it was just nostalgic. Take sighed and admitted that he remembered. Back then, he had been smaller than Makoto, and the shallow area where they played had been perfect for someone his size. Smiling faintly, he said that playing together in their swimsuits had been fun. Makoto then casually mentioned that she had brought a swimsuit with her. She explained that in the car, she had told him she got a new one. Take stuttered, asking if she was really talking about a swimsuit. Makoto confirmed that she was, and that it was an amazing one. Flustered, Takase asked when she even bought such an amazing swimsuit. Makoto calmly replied that she was already wearing it underneath her clothes. In fact, she bought it just to show him. Take's thoughts spiraled. Would she really show him? If she was serious, then he needed to act like a proper gentleman. Just then, Makoto asked if he wanted to see it. He answered that he did. Takase tried convincing himself that she was only teasing him like usual, that she must be joking. But when Makoto actually began preparing to show him, he became even more flustered. Makoto revealed her swimsuit and asked him what he thought. At that moment, Takase faced a crisis. What was he supposed to say? He searched desperately for a smooth line, but his mind went blank. He felt like Makoto was killing him. The only thoughts left in his head were indecent. In the end, he blurted out that in her swimsuit, she looked hot. The second the words left his mouth, he thought he was finished. That had to be the worst possible response. But instead of being upset, Makoto told him he could come closer and get a better look. He stepped closer, still dazed, and said again how amazing she looked. Overwhelmed with embarrassment, Makoto quickly apologized and put her clothes back on, saying it was too embarrassing. Takase agreed, saying it really was an amazing swimsuit. Both of them stood there, blushing bright red. Makoto then wondered what she was supposed to do next. She had shown him her swimsuit, but now she had no idea what came after that. Gathering her courage, she asked Takase if he wanted to see it again. That only flustered him further. A little earlier, when Makoto's mother and Take's mother were left alone, a very different atmosphere had formed. From the doorway, Mitaka and Take's father peeked inside. Take's father casually commented that Makoto and her mother looked alike. Mitaka immediately told him this wasn't the time to be so carefree. The room was about to turn into a war zone. Take's father blinked in confusion and asked why. Inside the room, Makoto's mother thanked Take's mother for always taking care of Makoto. Take's mother replied that she hadn't only been looking after Makoto recently, but for a long time now, and she didn't mind. Makoto's mother said Makoto had told her everything. Back when she was failing as a mother, Take's mother had stepped in and taken over that role. Take's mother calmly admitted that it was true and asked why she was bringing it up now. With a strained voice, Makoto's mother said she was grateful and wanted to repay Take's mother for the child's support. That was the wrong thing to say. Take's mother's expression darkened. She angrily told her not to insult her like that. Outside, Take's father finally understood why Mitaka had called it a war zone. Makoto's mother hurriedly apologized, but Take's mother told her not to apologize to her, she should apologize to Makoto instead. Take's mother then asked what kind of mother she thought she was. Yes, losing her beloved husband must have been painful. But Makoto was still her daughter, the daughter she had with the man she loved. She couldn't just selfishly abandon her like that. Then she issued a warning: if Mikoto's mother continued being half-hearted, she would take Mikoto into her own family. Outside, Mitaka whispered to her father, asking if they were financially stable enough to take in Mikoto. After a moment of consideration, her father said that he would simply have to write more erotic novels. Inside, Mikoto's mother firmly refused. Take's mother could do anything, but she could not take Mikoto away. Though she considered herself a terrible person, she truly loved her daughter. She remembered Takase telling her it wasn't too late, that there was still time to fix things. The past couldn't be changed. But she would make up for it. She would prove she was more worthy than anyone else to be Mikoto's mother. She would become the best mother in the world. She begged to remain Mikoto's mother. Take's mother snorted. Whether she became the best mother in the world or not didn't matter, she already was Mikoto's mother. So she should act like it. Then she handed Mikoto's mother a stack of papers. Outside, Mitaka wondered if it was drugs. Take's father sighed and asked what kind of person she thought her mother was. The papers contained recipes, Mikoto's favorite dishes. Take's mother explained that Mikoto's mother would need them. Overcome with emotion, Mikoto's mother called out to her affectionately, but Take's mother immediately told her not to try closing the distance like that. Looking at the list, Mikoto's mother realized that every dish on it was something she used to make for Mikoto herself. Take's mother explained that when she stopped cooking those meals, Mikoto began asking her for them instead. "You're Mikoto's mother," she said firmly. Mikoto's mother broke down in tears and apologized to her daughter. She thanked Take's mother and promised to do her best. Take's mother muttered that she still deserved a harsh punishment, but before she could continue, a loud stomach growl interrupted the tension. Mitaka sheepishly apologized. She was hungry. And just like that, the war zone dissolved into dinner. The mood shifted completely as Mitaka began chanting her meat mantra. Her aunt, Ryuko, joined in, praising how delicious the meat was. Mitaka excitedly asked Mikoto's mother if they could really eat all of it. Mikoto's mother laughed and said she bought plenty, so they could eat as much as they liked. Overjoyed, Mitaka hugged her and declared that she loved her and wanted to be her child instead. Take's mother did not appreciate that. She began lecturing about how marbled beef contained more fat and calories than lean meat, making it the enemy of beauty. Mitaka nodded thoughtfully, then innocently asked her mother if that was why Mikoto's mother had a more voluptuous body than her. Take's mother promptly spanked Mikoto's mother while scolding her for having an undisciplined body. Mitaka protested the violence, but Take's mother was already sulking. Mitaka apologized to Mikoto's mother, explaining that her mother's reaction had been unusual, so she couldn't resist teasing. Mikoto's mother simply smiled and said it was fine, it actually felt kind of nice. Take's mother cursed, calling her a perverted woman. Just then, Takase and Makoto returned. Mitaka greeted them loudly and asked if they were drawn in by the smell of meat. But then she paused, noticing their awkward atmosphere. Take's mother immediately approached her son and bluntly asked if they did it. Mitaka demanded details. Takase glanced at Makoto before explaining what had happened. His mother was furious. Mitaka stared at him in disbelief. Was he seriously saying he just stared at Makoto's swimsuit for 30 minutes? After everything she did for him? Take stammered that he couldn't go further. Those kinds of things should happen after they start dating. Enraged, Take's mother yelled that he had a big useless ornamental holy sword and a pair of cowardly dragon balls. Take's father quickly restrained her. Then he calmly told Takase that such decency was admirable. Even when Take's mother had approached him in her birthday suit in the past, they waited until they were 18, just as they had promised. Still, if Makoto had put her feelings into showing him her swimsuit, ignoring that effort entirely wouldn't be right either. His father asked him if he had properly complimented her. Take said he had, but he might have sounded creepy. His father reassured him that it was fine for humans to have at least one creepy trait. Mitaka added that it made sense, since their father wrote erotic novels for a living. Take's mother casually revealed that the acts in those novels were things he performed with her. Take's father immediately changed the subject and suggested they eat. Meanwhile, Makoto's mother quietly asked her daughter if she had shown Take's the swimsuit. Makoto giggled and confirmed it. She repeated that Take said she looked hot. Makoto admitted that she didn't want Take's to hate her. She thought she would be satisfied with any kind of relationship, as long as he didn't abandon her. But now, she wanted to be greedier. Her mother smiled warmly and said that was a good thing. She supported her completely. Then she reminded Makoto that she had brought her own swimsuit as well. Makoto quickly told her not to put it on. As Takase stared at his barbecue, Ryuko noticed he had a piece left. Since Takase wasn't eating it, she took it, and immediately Takase screamed. He demanded to know what she was doing, insisting he was saving the meat. Ryuko, however, told him he was an idiot, adding that meat is war. Mitaka interrupted, saying there was something more important to do. Takase asked what could possibly be more important than meat. With a playful grin, Mitaka produced some fireworks and begged him to do them with her. Take's father announced that the adults would handle the cleanup so the kids could go have fun. Mitaka thanked him, but Take silently noted that another anxiety-inducing group had formed. Ryuko, standing beside him, remarked that adults were really reliable. Takase reminded her that she herself was an adult, but she dismissed the comment, saying that people in their 20s were basically still kids. Mitaka chimed in, urging everyone to get to the fireworks, but just then, Makoto called out to her. When Mitaka answered, Makoto asked if she had prepared a bucket of water. Mitaka hesitated, questioning if it was really necessary. Makoto, Takase, and Ryuko all insisted it was essential for properly putting out fires. Mitaka pouted but eventually agreed. Takase asked Ryuko for the bucket, and she directed him to the storage shed in the annex. Realizing it was near the place he had walked with Makoto earlier, Takase told everyone to wait while he went to get it. Makoto asked if she could come along. Takase warned her that it was dark and dangerous, but Makoto insisted that she would be fine. Mitaka told them to go together while she stayed behind, joking that she would do a weird dance or something, but she asked them to be careful. Then, with a mischievous smile, she explained that something came out of the lake at night, a terrifying yokai known as the Lake Master. Takase and Makoto stared at her speechless, and Mitaka laughed, telling them to have fun. On the way to the shed, Makoto clung to Takase. He asked if she was scared, and she admitted that she was. Takase grumbled about Mitaka's unnecessary teasing right before they left. Meanwhile, Makoto thought to herself that she was only pretending to be scared so she would have a legitimate reason to cling to him. Although she felt a little guilty using Mitaka's teasing to deceive Takase, opportunities like this didn't come often. She decided to go all out, clinging even closer while saying she was scared. Takase was flustered but reassured her, saying it was fine because he was there. He even thought to himself that he sounded cool, and wished he had brought a voice recorder. Makoto, however, was secretly enjoying Take's scent and the feel of his strong muscles. She needed to act scared, but couldn't stop herself from grinning. She realized that Takase had grown significantly. Before he used to cling to her, but now the roles were reversed. She was glad that his cool side hadn't changed. Even as he grew bigger, he remained the one she loved. Blushing, Makoto thought about how much Take's holy sword must have grown. Just then, Takase called out to her, startling her. She hurriedly explained that she wasn't trying to take advantage of the situation. Takase solemnly told her not to leave his side, no matter what, and when Makoto looked down, she noticed something red on the ground. Makoto asked Takase if it was blood. He admitted that he didn't know, but even if it was, it seemed dried up. It wasn't something that recently happened. Makoto agreed, noting that although it was scary, at least they hadn't encountered whatever had caused it. Takase mentioned that the bloodstain was close to the shallow area they had been earlier. He wondered aloud whether whatever had caused it might be watching them. At that, Makoto flinched. Takase quickly reassured her that he was overthinking, that his imagination was running wild, and they weren't even sure if it was blood. Just then, a rustling came from the bushes. Takase held Makoto tightly and shone his light in that direction. Focusing all his senses on the bushes, his determination to protect Makoto triggered a state of maximum combat readiness. Makoto, meanwhile, was unusually thrilled. Takase pondered whether the noise came from an animal, a person, or the legendary monster of the lake. Makoto wondered what was pressing against her stomach. Was it Take's holy sword? Suddenly, the thing in the bushes darted off. Takase saw it walking on two legs and wondered what it was, but when he looked down, he found Makoto pressed against him. Flustered, he pushed her slightly and told her it was okay. Makoto insisted it had been scary, but she was secretly disappointed that she couldn't spray holy water because Takase had separated from her too soon. Takase noted the area was dangerous and suggested they find the bucket and return quickly. Makoto agreed, and they headed into the storeroom. They split up to search for the bucket but came up empty. Then, someone called out to Takase, telling him to look carefully, The bucket was right behind him. He found it and thanked the person. Looking out the window, he spotted the class rep. She realized she had been caught and hurriedly ran off, disappearing into the darkness. Makoto asked Takase why he had called the class rep's name, but he dismissed it as nothing. Takase wondered if he had imagined it, but the class rep had definitely been there. The source of the bloodstain was revealed. It was the class rep's nosebleed, caused by excitement while peeking. But she didn't care about being found out. After all, she got to witness something interesting. Also, the class rep was secretly sleeping outdoors. Back with the group, Makoto was playing with some fireworks. Takase asked if she liked sparklers, and she said she did. They were calming. Mitaka appeared and complained that they were gloomy and boring, preferring fireworks that made loud noises and those that she could hold 6 at once, using both hands. She urged Takase to light the fireworks, but he struggled with the lighter. Ryuko eventually helped him, and Mitaka thanked her. Then she advised Ryuko to stop smoking, warning that otherwise, no guys would approach her. Ryuko called her brat and tossed a mouse firework at her. Takase observed, thinking how close they still were. Hearing a click, Takase turned to see Makoto taking pictures. She explained she wanted to make an album. Takase said that sounded nice, but Makoto continued snapping multiple shots of him. He begged her to stop, but she ignored him. Makoto wondered if it was okay for someone like her to feel so spoiled. Takase asked if she thought the vacation would be a good summer memory. Makoto initially agreed but then admitted it wasn't enough. Concerned, Takase asked if it was because he acted creepy back when she wore her swimsuit. Makoto explained that the vacation had just begun. She wanted much more. Apologizing for being greedy, she admitted she might have gotten carried away. Takase reassured her that it was fine, promising to make memories with her not only for the summer but all year long, making her primary school memories pale in comparison. Makoto agreed. Just then, Mitaka called out, teasing that the snake firework looked like poop. Takase scolded her for ruining the moment with Makoto. Mitaka laughed, saying their conversation was probably just cheesy talk anyway. Ryuko called them over to set off fireworks together. Takase hesitated, but Makoto encouraged him, and he agreed. Internally, Takase resolved that he wouldn't let sparkling memories of the past outshine the present. He would make the most of now, creating a moment where Makoto would say the present was their best time. And when that happened, he planned to finally reveal his true feelings for her. Part 4 begins. As Mitaka struggled to carry the luggage, she called out to Takase, asking him to help her before her arms fell off. Takase took the luggage and put it in the car, while Mitaka sighed in relief. Takase wondered if that was all the luggage, and he inwardly told himself that camping was fun. He also wondered if they could do it again the following year. Just then, his aunt, Ryuko, called out to him. She asked if he was leaving and said that she wished he could stay for another 10 nights. Takase refused, saying that another 10 nights would be too much. Ryuko laughed as she agreed with him. As Takase walked away, he waved goodbye to Ryuko, saying that he would see her later. But then, Ryuko blocked him and said that she would see him later. Takase responded awkwardly, but when he tried leaving, she blocked him again. When Takase tried forcing his way through, they got into a wrestling match as she stopped him from leaving and kept saying that she would see him later. Takase asked her to stop and wondered why she wasn't letting him through when she kept repeating, "See you later." As they struggled, Makoto wondered aloud what Ryuko was doing. Mitaka told Makoto that it was because Ryuko was lonely. Baffled, Makoto asked what she meant. Mitaka explained that, to Ryuko, Takase was kind of special. She continued, saying that before she was born, Takase stayed at their mother's family home, and during that time, Ryuko was the one who took care of him. Because of that, although Ryuko didn't treat Takase like her son, she treated him like a little brother. As Takase and Ryuko continued struggling, Takase eventually managed to slip through. As he made a run for it, he told Ryuko that they would be leaving now and that he would see her the next time they met. Ryuko told him that she understood, and for the last time, she said that she would see him later. As Makoto gazed at Ryuko, she thought that Ryuko really looked lonely. Once they all got into the car, Makoto asked her mom to drive safely. Makoto's mother told her that it would be fine, since she got an A on her driving aptitude test. Meanwhile, Takase thought that it had been years since he last went camping during his summer break, but since he enjoyed it so much, he would bring Makoto with him next time. Just then, Ryuko showed up and asked him to please come back again next time. At that, he screamed in fright. When Takase calmed down, he asked Ryuko why she was following them. Ryuko responded that she wanted to see him off properly. Takase sighed as he told her that he would see her later, and Ryuko replied that she would see him later. As they finally drove off, Makoto tapped Takase and pointed at someone waving at them. Lo and behold, it was Ryuko, once again telling Takase that she would see him later. Takase was shocked that Ryuko was still chasing them, and when he realized that she had actually gotten ahead of them, he wondered how she could be faster than a car. After they passed Ryuko, Makoto admitted that she was surprised. She added that Ryuko is a nice person. Takase said that although Ryuko is a bit tactless, she has a sense of humor, which makes it easier to talk to her than to his mother. Meanwhile, in the car with Take's parents, his mother suddenly said that, for some odd reason, she felt a little irritated. Mitaka suggested that maybe she was just going through menopause, and Take's father laughed. Takase wondered aloud how many years it had been since he had last seen Ryuko, but he told himself that there was nothing wrong with rarely visiting his relatives. Makoto asked if he was sure, and after a brief hesitation, he admitted that she was right and that he might have wanted to stay a little longer. As Makoto looked at him, she suddenly stammered and asked him to look out the window. When Takase looked, he saw Ryuko. He freaked out, yelling that she was still following them. Takase was about to scold her when she interrupted him. She told him that no matter what, he had to come visit her again. She warned him not to wait for 4 years to pass before visiting again, and that if he did, she would never forgive him. Takase agreed, shouting that he would definitely come back. At that, Ryuko gradually slowed down until their car disappeared from view. Seeing that Takase was still looking out the window, Makoto called out to him. Takase asked if she would still be willing to go out with him again next year, and Makoto said that she would. Makoto's mother asked if Take's invitation included her, but Makoto replied that it depended on her behavior from here on out. Makoto's mother complained that Makoto was being too harsh. As they continued driving, Makoto noticed that Ryuko was still chasing them from a distance, which surprised Takase. On the first day of their summer vacation, Takase was fired up and swore that he would make it their best summer vacation ever. However, since then, they had mostly been staying inside and playing video games. Although going outside was an option, the temperature outdoors was a terrifying 37 degrees Celsius. As such, going out at noon without air conditioning felt almost suicidal. That being said, with how they were spending their time, it seemed like they weren't even on summer vacation. At least, that was what part of Take's thought. Just then, Makoto called out to him and asked if they could play co-op next instead of versus. Takase immediately agreed, but another part of him thought that maybe the way they were spending their summer vacation was good enough. When they beat the game, Takase told Makoto that it was all thanks to her, and that co-op was really great. Makoto asked if she had been useful, then said that she was happy. When Takase held out his fist toward Makoto, she looked confused. After a moment, she asked if he wanted to punch her in the gut. Takase told her that it wasn't that kind of gesture. Seeing how seriously Makoto was thinking about it, Takase apologized. He said it was his fault, and since he had done it out of nowhere, it was only natural that she wouldn't understand. As he tried explaining, she stopped him and said that she understood what he meant. But when he gave her a fist bump, she pressed her jigglers against his fist. Takase immediately turned bead red and awkwardly stood up, saying that he needed to use the bathroom. When he returned, Makoto said she didn't understand and apologized for being an oblivious woman. She told Takase not to be disappointed in her and that if he taught her, she would do it properly. Takase replied that it wasn't a big deal and explained that it was basically a simpler version of a high five. He told her to put her fist against his, and then he demonstrated with a fist bump. At that, Makoto was delighted. The feeling of being in sync with Takase felt amazing to her. Although she still didn't fully understand it, she felt like they were connected, as if it were a signal that only the two of them shared. It felt incredibly good. Wanting more, Makoto made sure they cleared the next game before asking Takase for another fist bump. And so, it continued well into the night. Later, when Makoto tried to eat dinner, her hand hurt so much that she couldn't hold her chopsticks properly. Makoto's mother panicked and screamed that someone should call an ambulance. A few days later, Takase met up with Makoto. When she arrived, she apologized for being late and asked if she had made him wait. Takase said she hadn't and suggested that they hurry to the library since it was getting hot. Makoto agreed. On their way, Takase mentioned that there was a lot of homework for high schoolers and said they should work hard to finish it together. Makoto agreed. Inwardly, however, she admitted that she had already finished all her homework. Still, since studying together with Takase was a rare opportunity, she didn't want to miss it, so she decided to keep quiet. Takase told her that she was smart, so he would be counting on her, and Makoto confidently told him to leave it to her. When they reached the library, Makoto was relieved by how cool it was. Takase told her that the study room was on the second floor. Before heading there, however, Takase spotted their class rep. When she saw them, she asked if they were there to study too, and Takase confirmed it. Thinking it was perfect timing, he told her that 3 heads were better than 1 and suggested that they study together. However, when the class rep saw Makoto's expression, she immediately refused, saying that she was the type who focused better alone. She told them to do their best on their own. Takase said he understood and told her that they should all do their best. Then, he gave her a fist bump. When Makoto saw that, she called out to the class rep and began pouting. Then, she called out to Takase as she made a strange hand sign. Takase and the class rep wondered if she was making a Doberman, or a sea slug sign. Seeing how insistent she was, Takase copied the hand sign, and Makoto nodded enthusiastically. Then, Makoto brought their hands together and made a kissing sound. At that, Takase was baffled, but Makoto laughed triumphantly. Meanwhile, the class rep fainted with a nosebleed. As Mitaka lazed around, she noticed her worn-out father and asked if he was all right. He explained that he had pulled an all-nighter because he wasn't making any progress on his manuscript. He added that since it was just one all-nighter, he would be fine. Mitaka thought there was no way that was true, so she decided to report it to her mother so they could make him rest, even if they had to force him. Otherwise, he would end up getting sick. As Mitaka thought about the term all-nighter, she wondered what it really meant and felt that there should be a more emotional, nonchalant way to say it. After thinking about it, she told her mother that her father had a one-night stand. A little later, Takase made his way home. Thanks to Makoto, he had managed to finish all his summer homework, so he now had a lot of free time. He decided to eat first, then bathe, before figuring out what he should do the next day. When he entered his house, he freaked out upon seeing his father being subjected to stone-pressing torture. Despite that, his father simply welcomed him home with a smile. Mitaka and his mother also welcomed him back. Takase told them not to welcome him, and asked what was going on, adding that torture was inhumane no matter the reason. Mitaka explained that their father had a one-night stand. Takase immediately declared that their dad was at fault. Take's father insisted that it was a misunderstanding, saying that no matter how cornered he was, he would never do something like that. However, Take's mother calmly told Mitaka to add another stone, which she promptly did. Mitaka told her father that she cared about him, so he should just admit it. She added that if he kept doing things like that, he would get sick and his life would be in danger. Her father responded that his current situation felt far more life-threatening. Take's mother coldly asked if he was getting sick now. Take's father continued to deny everything, shouting that the only person he loved was Take's mother. Mitaka's expression darkened as she asked what he was talking about, insisting that love had nothing to do with a one-night stand. Once again, Take's father said that he didn't do it. Take's mother remarked that it looked like he had a lot of fun, but Take's father kept insisting that he didn't do it. Mitaka added that even if he had done it and produced something good, it wouldn't be worth it if he damaged his body. Confused, he asked what she meant, but Take's mother suddenly asked if he had an illegitimate child. He denied that as well, saying there was no such thing. After thinking for a moment, Take turned to Mitaka and asked what she meant by a one-night stand. Mitaka explained that it meant staying up all night without sleeping, like an all-nighter. Take asked why she didn't just call it that, but Mitaka said it sounded too lame, and that one-night stand sounded much cooler. Take hesitated, unsure how to explain the real meaning. However, Mitaka assumed he was criticizing her sense of style, and told him to just say it if he had a problem. Take stepped closer and explained it to her quietly. As soon as he did, Mitaka turned beet red. She screamed and ran off. After she left, the rest of them stood there in stunned silence. Eventually, Take's father turned to his wife and said that he wasn't at fault. Take's mother apologized and added that one-nighters weren't okay. Take's father agreed, saying that he had learned his lesson. The class rep, who had just woken up, stretched before heading to the kitchen to make breakfast. Just as she was about to eat, her phone rang, and she wondered if it was Take's. However, she was surprised to see that it was Makoto. The class rep wondered why Makoto was calling, and if she had done something wrong. She stammered nervously as they spoke. After the call ended, she was shocked to learn that Makoto was coming over to her place by herself. The class rep fidgeted anxiously, and the moment the doorbell rang, she rushed to open it. There, she found Makoto and quickly invited her inside. Surprised that Makoto had actually come, she stammered as she asked why she had come so suddenly, especially since she was always with Takase. Makoto replied that they were friends and asked if it was strange for friends to visit each other during summer vacation. The class rep admitted that Makoto was right. Meanwhile, Makoto internally acknowledged that she had also come to gather information about the kind of relationship the class rep had with Takase. As Makoto looked around, she asked if the class rep lived alone. The class rep confirmed that she did and explained that she was renting a room in a women-only apartment managed by her grandmother. The class rep suggested that Makoto take a seat while she prepared some tea. Makoto was about to tell her not to worry, but she accidentally noticed a picture frame. Looking closer, she saw that it was a photo of Takase with someone else. The class rep immediately panicked and tried to explain that the photo had no strange meaning, adding that ideally Takase wouldn't even be in it, but she didn't have a better picture. Meanwhile, Makoto continued examining the photo and asked if the person with Takase was someone from middle school, and also why she had their picture. The class rep was left speechless. After observing more carefully, Makoto asked if the class rep was the person in the photo. The class rep admitted that she was and explained that Makoto wouldn't have recognized her because she had very short hair back then. Makoto apologized, saying she had thought it was a picture of a boy. The class rep told her not to worry, saying that anyone would have thought the same because of how she used to dress. She added that she had been raised that way. Curious, Makoto asked what she meant. The class rep explained that her parents wanted a boy, and even though it was contradictory, they still tried to raise her as one. But since she was a girl, she hated it. While other girls wore cute clothes, she was constantly told she was more boyish than the boys. However, because she couldn't go against her parents, she kept her feelings to herself. She recalled her first year of middle school, when she met Takase. Back then, when he saw Makoto approaching, he told her to move aside a little, saying that she was kind of cute and that people might misunderstand. She had been stunned and wondered what he meant. On another occasion, she told him that she was basically like a boy and that it would look strange if she did girly things. But Takase told her it wouldn't be strange at all. He said it would suit her, and he suggested that she grow her hair. Returning to the present, the class rep said that she had thought he was an idiot, but he made her realize that she should be honest with herself. As she got swept up in his foolishness, it felt like everything she had been holding in finally burst out. That led to a huge fight with her parents, an all-out brawl. Makoto asked if that was why she lived alone. The class rep shook her head and told her not to misunderstand. She explained that they hadn't cut ties, they had simply reached a ceasefire. They decided to put some distance between them for both their sakes. Because of that, she was now living freely and felt like she had come back to life. Inwardly, Makoto concluded that they were still fighting. The class rep said that she was truly grateful to Takase, more than she could ever express. However, she would never say it to his face because it would just inflate his ego. She added that there was a time when Takase himself was falling apart, and she never wanted to see him like that again. That was why she wanted him to be happy and to keep smiling. The class rep emphasized that that was all there was to it, and that there was nothing between them. Makoto said she understood and asked the class rep if she truly wanted Takase to be happy. The class rep smiled brightly and said that she did, adding that for him to be happy, Makoto was necessary. However, Makoto interrupted her and directly asked if she liked Takase. The class rep froze, completely caught off guard. The class rep tried to explain, unsure if Makoto was even listening, but Makoto cut her off. She repeated her questions, asking if she was grateful to Takase and if she wanted him to be happy. Then, once again, she asked if she liked him. The class rep trembled in response. Makoto stepped closer, saying she had always found her suspicious. In a cold tone, she asked the class rep whether she hated Takase or if she liked him. Makoto pinned the class rep down, demanding an answer. Blushing, the class rep admitted that she didn't exactly hate him. Makoto remained unconvinced, saying that was too vague. The class rep snapped that it didn't matter and questioned why Makoto even needed to ask. At that, Makoto fell silent. The class rep then pointed out that the reason Makoto was asking was because she herself had those kinds of feelings for Takase. She turned the question back on Makoto, asking what she thought of him. Makoto stammered, saying that she liked him since they were childhood friends. The class rep immediately called her out, saying she was dodging the question and that it wasn't fair. She clarified that she meant romantic feelings. Flustered, Makoto admitted that it would be nice if they ended up in that kind of relationship. The class rep laughed and bluntly asked if Makoto had ever thought about doing it with him. At that, Makoto turned beet red and panicked. The two ended up wrestling as Makoto insisted there was no way she could see Takase in such a vulgar way. The class rep argued that she was just being stubborn and that it was normal to think that way about someone you liked. Makoto insisted that if she thought like that, then she was depraved. The class rep denied it and said that she had never done the deed before. Makoto quickly replied that she had never done the deed before either, only to realize she hadn't even asked the class rep about it. Changing the subject, the class rep pointed out that Makoto's reaction proved she liked Takase romantically, and she told Makoto that it was time to be honest with herself. Makoto shouted at her to shut up and, in the struggle, accidentally smothered her with her chest. As the class rep struggled to breathe, she became painfully aware of just how large Makoto's chest was. When Makoto finally let go, the class rep had already lost consciousness. Sometime later, the class rep woke up. Makoto was relieved and thanked the heavens, apologizing for knocking her out. The class rep said she was fine and blamed herself for getting carried away. Makoto agreed, saying it felt like they had both vented their feelings. After a brief hesitation, Makoto admitted that when she first asked to be friends, it was partly because she wanted to be the same as Takase. If he liked something, she liked it. If he hated something, she hated it too. Wanting to match him, she had approached the class rep. But now, things were different. With the class rep around, Makoto felt like she might one day be able to be honest with herself. With that, she asked if they could truly be friends, and the class rep agreed. Later, as Makoto left, she apologized for intruding and said she had enjoyed getting to know her. The class rep said she felt the same, and they waved each other goodbye. After returning inside, the class rep opened a hidden room filled with pictures of Takase and Makoto. She muttered to herself that it had been a close call, and that if Makoto had seen that room, everything would have been over. By 9 p.m., Makoto was done with her bath, and she giggled as she decided that it was time to call Takase. As she looked at her phone, the video call button caught her attention. She wanted to try it. After all, she had always been curious about it, and she would get to see Take's face, which meant 50% more happiness. However, there was a huge downside. The downside was that he would also be able to see her face, and she didn't want that, not when her face was still scared, not to mention that the call would be a close-up. She wondered if she should just make it a voice call instead. After some hesitation, she decided to go with a video call. She needed to challenge herself and try something new in order to take a step forward. So, while trembling, she called him. The moment Take's phone rang, he picked it up and was shocked to discover that it was a video call. His heart pounded as he answered. However, the first thing he saw was Makoto's chest, which made him panic. Looking away, Makoto asked if he could see her. He said that he could, but he wasn't sure if he was supposed to be seeing that. Confused, Makoto asked what he meant. Takase explained that, normally, she should show her face during a video call. After a brief pause, Makoto decided that she should show her face after all. She asked Takase if he wanted to see it, and he said that he did, adding that if she left things as they were, he might have trouble calming down. Makoto giggled and said that she understood. Then, she showed her face. When she did, Takase asked why she looked embarrassed. Makoto asked if it wasn't weird. Takase replied that it wasn't and that he was happy to see her face. Makoto said that she understood, and the two of them spent some time talking. However, all of a sudden, Takase froze. Makoto's mother, who was drunk, stumbled into the room behind Makoto. Makoto asked what was wrong, and Takase said that something was visible on camera. Makoto asked if there was a ghost, and told him not to tease her just because it was a video call. Takase said it was something like that and that he wanted to believe it, but before he could finish, he panicked. He saw Makoto's mother starting to change clothes and screamed, shouting that it was all on camera, and he told Makoto to look behind her. Makoto turned around, insisting that she wouldn't fall for it, but then she saw her drunken mother laughing and dancing. The next day, Makoto sat her mother down and declared that alcohol was banned, calling it her compromise. Makoto told Takase that she could no longer hold back and that they should do something that feels good together. At that, Takase screamed at the top of his lungs. Back in Take's room, he realized it had just been a dream. He noted that lately, he had been having fewer nightmares, but instead, it felt like his number of arousing dreams had increased. Muttering that he really was hopeless, he decided to go back to sleep since it was still dark. However, the moment he closed his eyes, he shot upright. He realized that his underwear was in a state of emergency. It was time for war. Although it was the worst situation, he had to deal with it. Checking his phone, he saw that it was 1 a.m. Assuming everyone was asleep, he decided to head to the bathroom. He planned to move silently and quickly, telling himself that he could pull it off. But the moment he opened the door, he ran into his sister, Mitaka, who asked what he was doing. Takase panicked, wondering if he was done for, and stammered that it was nothing. Mitaka asked if he was staying up late, and added that it wasn't good for him. Takase wondered why he had to run into her at that exact moment, and he couldn't help but think she looked intimidating. Trying to change the topic, Takase asked what she was doing up so late, adding that it was probably something silly, like how she had interrogated their father the other day. Mitaka immediately shouted at him not to bring that up, saying she wanted to forget about it. She insisted it wasn't silly, and that she had a good reason. When he asked her to clarify, she explained that she was studying, preparing, and reviewing for summer classes. Takase found that admirable, and told her she didn't need to push herself so hard late at night. After some hesitation, she agreed. Takase asked her what was wrong. Mitaka said that she had been feeling stressed. She explained that she wasn't good at studying, but there was a high school she really wanted to attend. However, her teacher had told her that, at her current level, she wouldn't be able to get in. She laughed weakly and admitted that staying up late like this wasn't actually helping much, and that she was just doing it out of desperation. After thinking for a moment, Takase asked if she really wanted to go there that badly. Mitaka replied that it was only natural, since it was the same high school that he and Makoto attended. Takase was surprised to hear that. He told her that she didn't have to choose it just because they went there. However, Mitaka shook her head and said that wasn't the only reason. She explained that although they were her inspiration, she ultimately wanted to go there of her own will and follow through on a decision she made herself. Takase commented that her stubbornness was just like their mother's. Mitaka corrected him, saying he should call it an indomitable spirit. With a cute expression, she then told him there was one problem she didn't understand and asked him to teach her. Takase agreed. Though, his underwear had already dried stiff. He couldn't even make it to the battlefield. The new semester began, and Takase returned to school. He met up with Makoto, spent time with her, and before he knew it, summer vacation was over. Still, it felt like there were more things he had wanted to do. He thought that if it felt short, then it must have been fulfilling. Nearby, some students were chatting, and one of them pointed out that a girl had gotten tanned. The girl seemed surprised and said she hadn't even noticed. Another student commented that the track club hadn't taken a single day off during the break. As Takase reflected on how active clubs were at his school, someone called out to him. It was Yuichi. Yuichi told Takase that he had completed a manuscript during the summer and wanted his feedback. Takase agreed and asked where he planned to submit it. Yuichi said he was submitting it to an otome manga magazine. Takase commented that it didn't suit him, and Yuichi immediately told him to shut up. Takase found it surprising that a former ace striker who had played in the national middle school soccer tournament was now in the manga club. Yuichi replied that he chose what he liked over what he was good at, then asked Takase if he wasn't planning to join a club. Yuichi explained that their school strongly encouraged club activities and that Takase was somewhat of a rare case. Takase said he would be fine without joining one. Yuichi suddenly asked if it was because of a girl. Takase denied it, saying it wasn't because of Makoto. Yuichi clarified that he wasn't criticizing him. He just felt that Takase might not be fully satisfied with his current life. He added that if Takase truly felt fulfilled, then there was no problem at all, especially since he seemed happier than before. Yuichi then casually mentioned that he was done with girls, explaining that when he quit soccer, his girlfriend broke up with him, saying she no longer knew what she liked about him. Takase broke into a cold sweat and told him to keep his personal grudges to himself. As Yuichi walked away, he reminded Takase to give him feedback the following week, and Takase agreed. Sitting down, Takase wondered if he was truly living his youth to the fullest. If he answered honestly, he felt that Makoto was a big part of it. However, if someone asked him if he was satisfied, he couldn't say yes. Takase remembered back when he had decided to confess to Makoto. On his way to do so, he had learned that she had been taken to the hospital by an ambulance. As he sank into self-blame, he realized he had been thinking only about himself. While he was worrying about his confession, Makoto had been suffering. He felt that he was supposed to protect her, yet he couldn't, and that made him believe he had no right to try to make her happy. Lost in thought, he was suddenly snapped back to reality. It was the class rep, who told him to stop making such a gloomy face because she hated it. Takase apologized. She then informed him that he had an unwelcome visitor. When he looked, he saw Yandere. He asked what she wanted. After a brief pause, Ray remarked that he looked gloomy and that his face suggested his summer hadn't been very fulfilling. She added that it didn't seem like anything significant had happened. Takase ignored what she said and once more asked her what she wanted. Ray asked how far things had gone between him and Makoto during the break. Takase questioned whether she had really come all the way just to ask him that. Ray insisted that it was important. She asked if they had kissed. Takase said they hadn't, and he asked why she was making it sound so cute. Ray then asked if they had gone all the way. Takase, confused, asked her what she meant by all the way, and he said nothing had happened. Ray smirked, and said she understood, that he still had a long way to go. She pointed out that despite his confidence about Makoto liking him more, he hadn't made any real progress. Ray said that at the rate he was going, she would have plenty of chances to surpass him. Clicking his tongue, Takase told her she was mistaken. He claimed the gap between them was much larger than she thought, telling her that he had already held Makoto's hand and seen her in a swimsuit. That visibly shocked Ray. Takase added that he would only keep moving forward from there, to the point where she wouldn't even be on his radar. As Ray turned to leave, she said she would let him off for now but warned that he would regret it. Takase muttered that he couldn't believe that people who said things like that actually exist, but she snapped back, telling him to shut up. Before she left, Takase called out and thanked her. Ray reacted defensively, accusing him of being weird and asking if he was trying to make a move on her too. She told him to go away. After she left, Takase sighed and muttered that it was only the first day of the new term, and he was already exhausted. Even so, he resolved that his new term would start with Makoto. As Takase walked into the classroom, he was surprised to see Makoto surrounded by gyros. Takase wondered if Makoto had been dragged into some sort of trouble, and if that was the case, he decided he would quickly save her. Just then, one of the gyros said she had brought snacks and asked the others if they wanted to eat together. The other gyros agreed, then all of them turned to Makoto and asked if they could eat there. Makoto agreed. Takase wondered why they were asking Makoto for permission. He concluded that it didn't seem like Makoto was being cornered or dragged into anything. It was more like they were castling around her. He wondered if, in that group, Makoto was the king. Takase noticed some boys who looked like they wanted to talk to a girl, and he wondered if they were going to approach Makoto. The boys came up to Makoto's group and asked if they would be willing to hang out after school if they were free. However, the gyros coldly turned them down. At that, the boys quietly left. Meanwhile, Takase thought that this was expected of a gyro castle. Their defense was impenetrable. He wondered what he should do, since with the gyro perimeter of defense, it would be extremely difficult to get close to Makoto. One of the gyros said those boys were a no, and that their ulterior motives were obvious. Another told her she was just as shallow when it came to looks. The first gyro replied that it was fine, since she was low maintenance, and therefore a good woman. She added that even a hot guy wouldn't want a clingy, suffocating girl. At that, Makoto quietly looked at her. Suddenly, the second gyro grabbed the first in a headlock. Takase broke into a cold sweat, wondering if it was an internal purge. As he thought how terrifying it was, Makoto noticed him and called out. The gyros also noticed him. In an instant they scattered. Makoto welcomed Takase and asked if anything had happened. Takase said nothing had happened and that it wasn't important, all the while thinking his class had too many mysteries. After school, Takase thought that the meeting with the homeroom teacher had taken longer than expected. Since Makoto would be waiting, he hurried so they could go home together. However, as he walked, he noticed one of the gyro castle squad. Takase wondered what she was doing heading toward the shoe lockers when it didn't seem like she was going home yet. Watching her, he saw her approach Makoto's shoe locker. When she tried to take Makoto's shoes out, he stopped her and asked what she was doing. She immediately panicked. Takase asked if this was what she was doing after getting close to Makoto, but she denied it. Then she showed him what she was carrying. Seeing this, Takase was baffled. The gyro explained that she wanted to polish Makoto's shoes. Takase said that it was creepy. The gyro apologized. When Takase recalled the gyro's earlier behavior, he asked what they were really trying to do. The gyro explained that in middle school, Mikoto's shoes used to get stolen from her shoe locker frequently. Because of that, Makoto always carried her shoes in her bag all the way to her desk. Although she always smiled, it had been hard for her. The gyro added that it didn't seem to happen now, but just in case, she and her friends took turns keeping watch every day. Takase said he understood, but after thinking for a moment, he asked why they were going that far from Makoto. The gyro replied that Makoto had been very kind to them in middle school. She explained that Makoto was cheerful and kind, and whenever she or her friends were in trouble, Makoto would immediately come to talk to them. Talking with her made them very happy. The gyro said that even though they owed Makoto so much, they couldn't do anything for her, so at the very least, they wanted to do something now, because they never wanted Makoto to go through that kind of pain again. Hearing this, Takase understood. He thought that while he had always focused on the painful parts of Makoto's middle school life, it wasn't only darkness that surrounded her, she had also gathered light. The gyro then told Takase to do his best as well, since Makoto looked happiest when she was with him. Takase shyly asked if that was true, and she confirmed it was. As Takase reflected, he thought the gyro was part of the light Makoto had gathered. Suddenly, the gyro asked if she could warm Makoto's shoes against her chest. Takase firmly told her not to do that. And he wondered if she truly counted as light. As Takase stood beside Makoto, he complained about how stressed he was that exams would soon begin, right after the break had just ended. Makoto tapped him and said he could hit her if he wanted to. Takase immediately asked what she was thinking and said there was no way he would do that, not even if he wanted to. Makoto innocently said he mentioned being stressed, and that was the only thing she could think of to help him relieve it. Pale, Takase asked if she thought he was that kind of scumbag. Makoto hugged him and apologized, saying she didn't mean it that way. Takase told her she didn't need to go that far and that she already helped relieve his stress just by being there. He thought that having Makoto beside him was enough. After thinking, Makoto asked if that meant he could take out his carnal desires on her. Takase immediately scolded her, saying that was exactly the kind of extreme thinking he meant. Makoto said she didn't understand and asked what she should do. She asked what her worth and purpose were to him. Takase told her not to overthink it. Makoto concluded that she had no value and therefore, she should die. Takase realized she was going into even more extremes. He quickly told her that wasn't true and that she absolutely had value. Makoto asked what value she had. Takase hesitantly said she had many cute sides. Makoto blushed. When she calmed down, she asked if he said that to everyone. Takase said he didn't. Makoto said cute was an easy word that anyone could say casually. Takase was taken aback, wondering if his words meant so little after all his effort. He snapped and shouted that Makoto was cute. He repeated it over and over until Makoto eventually overloaded. Before she collapsed, he quickly caught her. Makoto clung to him, face flushed with a nosebleed, saying she would be okay with dying at that point. After some time, Takase asked if she was okay and whether she had anemia, suggesting they rest on a nearby bench. However, Makoto refused to let go. Takase realized the situation was serious. He could feel her body and smell her scent, and at this rate she would notice his holy sword. He tried pushing her away, but she was too strong and refused to move. Meanwhile, Makoto wondered what she should do. She knew she should let go, or Takase might get annoyed and hate her. Her body refused to obey, like being unable to leave a warm bed on a cold morning. Takase panicked, unable to think of a solution. Having no other choice, he decided he had nothing to lose. Since pushing didn't work, he tried pulling instead, by hugging her. So he hugged her tightly with all his strength. After a while, Makoto finally let go. Once separated, both of them thought the hug had been incredible. Because Makoto had a nosebleed, Takase asked if she was okay, and she said she was. Wiping her nose, Makoto apologized and asked what they were talking about. Takase had forgotten, but eventually said they had been discussing her worth as a person. Makoto also forgot, since it no longer mattered to her, but agreed. After thinking, Makoto said she could tutor him because she was smart. Takase replied that after everything, she had chosen the most normal answer possible. That night, Makoto was in such high spirits that she was acting weird and that frightened her mother. At Take's house, Mitaka was hungry, so she wandered around asking if dinner was ready. When she couldn't find her mother, she concluded that her mother must have optical camouflage. When her father saw her, he asked what was wrong. She said her mother might be using invisibility. Her father was baffled at first. Then he explained that her mother had gone to Take's school for a teacher-parent conference. Mitaka remembered hearing that earlier and asked when she would return. Take's father said she would stop by the supermarket and return in about an hour and a half. Mitaka threw a tantrum, saying she couldn't wait that long and would starve. Seeing no other option, Take's father prepared to cook, but Mitaka stopped him, saying it was her time to shine and she would handle dinner. She entered the kitchen and banished her father to the living room, saying he couldn't come in until she was done. Inwardly, Take's father looked forward to her cooking, despite not even knowing if she could cook. Then he thought it made sense since she was in middle school, though he felt a little sad at how fast she was growing. When she finished, Mitaka served the food and asked if it was tasty. He said it was, though inwardly he felt the meal might kill him. As they ate, Makoto commented that it was delicious and said she had talent. She asked her father if she was right, and he hesitantly agreed, while internally feeling his stomach grow heavy. He wondered if this was what young girls like nowadays, as it looked like an over-the-top late-night snack made by a college guy. 20 years ago, it would have been fine, but for him now, it felt lethal. He realized he didn't know his own child was so frightening. Thinking further, he recalled his wife, Take's mother, who always threatened him about leaving leftovers and put great thought into meals. He realized he should be more grateful. Just then, Mitaka asked whose cooking was better, hers or her mother's. Take's father immediately realized it was an impossible question. Mitaka warned him not to give a weak answer like they're both good. Breaking into a cold sweat, he said her cooking was delicious but too rich for him. Mitaka pouted, then demanded he admitted if he preferred her mother's cooking. In frustration, she declared he would get no dessert. Take's father was surprised she still planned dessert. Still, he thanked her for dinner. Mitaka said she would cook again next time, and he could only hesitantly agree. He thought that eating Mitaka's cooking was part of being a parent. After that, Take's father was hit by a raging torrent. He spent a lot of time in the toilet. At Makoto's house, Makoto asked Takase if he was going to stay over tonight. Takase politely refused, saying that even if they were childhood friends, staying over at a girl's house would be too much. This back and forth usually happened whenever Takase visited Makoto's place. Makoto asked why he couldn't stay over when she used to stay at his house all the time. Takase told her it wasn't like that, and that there wasn't even a proper room for him to sleep in. He inwardly thought that recently, Makoto seemed satisfied whenever he simply said they would see each other tomorrow, and he was glad she trusted him that much. Still, he sometimes thought that one day they might live together rather than him merely staying over. However, Takase couldn't forget that Makoto's mother was also in the house. Just then, Makoto's mother said her room was spacious and offered to share it with Takase. Makoto immediately told her to be quiet, and her mother apologized. Ignoring Take's hesitation, she then suggested he could use an unused room instead. Makoto asked if she was really okay with that, and her mother said she didn't mind and that Takase would probably be fine with it too. Just like that, while completely disregarding Take's objections, they went off to prepare the room. In the room, Takase asked whose room it was, and Makoto said it was her father's. She explained that it had been 7 years since he passed away, and they had never used it since then. Makoto admitted she had not entered the room in all that time, so she had almost forgotten it existed. Takase thought he had heard Makoto's father was a famous musician, though he had never met him. When Takase first met Makoto in the summer of 3rd grade, her father had already passed away not long before. Thinking back, Takase found it strange how cheerful Makoto seemed despite everything, and wondered if she acted that way because she was suppressing sadness. Noticing him deep in thought, Makoto asked if he disliked the room and clarified that it wasn't haunted. She added that her father didn't seem like the type to become a ghost. Takase quickly said he wasn't thinking anything like that. Makoto's mother laughed and said that since Takase had never met her husband, he was probably just unsure. She suggested Makoto should tell him about what kind of person her father was. Then she added that she would send Takase a photo of him, taken with Makoto when she was little. Makoto panicked, saying it was embarrassing and told her mother to stop sending things to Takase so casually. However, Takase was curious about Makoto's father, but instead, he was briefly surprised to receive an unrelated, slightly provocative photo of Makoto's mother. Soon after, the correct photo was sent, accompanied by an awkward apology and laughter. Looking at the picture, Makoto commented that her father didn't really give off musician vibes. However, Takase felt otherwise. Makoto's mother said that was fine, adding that even as a musician, he wasn't particularly artistic in appearance. She described him as earnest, always thinking of others before himself, and someone who often ended up at a disadvantage. He was a worrywart, prone to stomach problems, a bit absent-minded, and generally someone who couldn't be left alone. But when it came to music, he was sincere and uncompromising, the kind of person others naturally wanted to support. At that point, Makoto's mother could no longer continue and began to cry. Makoto comforted her, saying everything would be okay. She apologized to Takase for suddenly bringing it up and explained that while her mother had improved compared to before, she still hadn't fully recovered. Her mother then said it felt strange. She used to be unable to even approach her late husband's room, yet now she was considering using it again. She told Takase it was because he had started coming around, which felt strange to her, and wondered if he reminded her of him. Makoto called out to her mother, who reassured her that she wouldn't get carried away with strange thoughts, and would recover properly. Apparently after Makoto's father's major debut and world tour, the strain eventually caught up with him, and he died of a sudden heart attack. Makoto's mother had been in so much pain that she buried herself and worked to cope. Takase thought Makoto must have felt the same, yet wondered how she managed to act so fine. After everything settled, Makoto told Takase that her mother had calmed down, and Takase said that was good. Then Makoto asked him if he could stay over tonight. After some hesitation, he agreed. After some thought, Takase said that right before they met, her father had passed away and she must have gone through a lot. He asked if she had been putting on a brave face for his sake. He said that back then, Makoto always acted cheerful and energetic, as if nothing had happened, and he hadn't realized how she truly felt. Hearing this, Makoto fell silent. Takase continued, saying that at that time she had neither her father nor her mother fully present, and must have been hurting deeply. He felt she had been holding everything in too much. But Makoto denied it, saying he was wrong and that she wasn't doing that. Confused, Takase asked how, but Makoto said she couldn't really remember. However, inwardly she thought it was because of him. Even though there had been many painful things, he had been there. Takase was always by her side, always caring for her no matter what. Back then, he was all she could think about. To Makoto, Takase had been like the sun itself. Because of that, she was happy he had returned to her side. But she was also afraid they might be separated again, or that he might come to hate her. Still, she wanted to take a step forward from where they were now. She was scared, but she hoped that someday someone like her could be with someone like him. She also hoped that one day, she could honestly tell him her feelings. In the room, Takase sat down, wondering if he was really staying over at Makoto's house. However, both Makoto and her mother were completely serious about it, and her mother was already preparing dinner. Takase still couldn't believe they had even prepared a room for him. Looking at a photo of Makoto's father, Takase asked him for his daughter's hand in marriage before laughing and saying he was just kidding. The room felt a little strange to him, but despite never having been there before, he felt oddly at ease. He also thought this might be why he felt unusually sleepy. Just then, Makoto entered and apologized for keeping him waiting, saying he could bathe next if he wanted to. However, she was surprised to find him already asleep and she wondered if he was tired. After poking him a few times and realizing he wouldn't wake up, she came up with a mischievous idea. She quietly took off her shirt and began teasing him, mocking him for sleeping so carelessly in someone else's house, fully aware that she would be in trouble if caught. Though what she was doing was wrong, she felt a strange thrill from the forbidden act, as if she were getting addicted to a dangerous game. When he still didn't wake up, she took off her underwear and waved it in front of him, saying it was the underwear of Makoto, who loved him so much. She called him a pervert, and also called herself one. When Takase made a sound, she nearly fainted, but it turned out to be just snoring. Breaking into a cold sweat, she called him a jerk for scaring her. Debating what to do next, she leaned in for a kiss. But she stopped at the last moment, wondering if it was really right for her first kiss to be like that. She felt it should involve emotion or mutual consent, concluding that a kiss should be saved for an important moment. Just then, Takase shifted and ended up falling into her jiggles. Flustered, Makoto stumbled backward and fell down. Looking at him, she thought he liked her jiggles way too much. Laughing, she decided her last option was to make it a done deal. She knew that if she did, she would become someone truly terrible and worthy of being hated. She leaned close to Takase and whispered into his ear that the next time he fell asleep beside her, she would pounce on him. To her surprise, Takase mumbled that she was super cute. Makoto blushed and insisted she wasn't cute at all. Smugly, she laughed it off and walked away, saying she would let him off this time. Later, Takase woke up, surprised he had fallen asleep. For some reason, he felt like he had the most satisfying sleep ever. But then he noticed a bra on the floor and froze. Meanwhile, Makoto realized she had seriously messed up.